Right. Okay, good. I've got the name generators all set up now. And
Tell you what, man, whatever we used to do as GMs before we had like online name generators, man, they're a godsend.
mm-hmm.
It's like, best believe after we play White Star, I've got like about 3 or 4 like Star Wars name generators like fired up in the background. So when you're like, oh, what's that random freighter captain we're talking to called? I can just be like, click, he's called this.
When I had my in-person games back when people actually could, exist in Meat Space, I used to have like a page just full of random names, which I just like, that'll do.
I mean, I used to go online to like some of these random name generators. I'd run it 3 or 4 times to get like a big old list, and I'd just like print it out in like a Word document, so I could just like tick them off and have like a page of them when I was doing in-person games.
Whereas I got a book of baby names at a car boot sale, and if I wanted them to sound like alien or elfish or whatever, I'd just use the name backwards.
Nice.
Or reorganise the letters in it.
It depends what you're doing as well. I mean, like if I'm doing like a games on demand like 2-hour one, I can come up with enough random like names for like a 2-hour session. Especially if it's like, oh, we're playing like generic fantasy or we're playing like generic space opera. That's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
See, Matthew's dog agrees with me.
Yeah.
That's alright.
The dog's like, yeah, boy, make up them names.
Okay, I think I've
You could feel it coming through.
got my stuff sorted out to
Silly
some
question,
degree.
But
Yeah.
is the Tremulus way of doing things, is that in other books as well? Because I've seen Power by the Apocalypse, which has a similar role system, but Tremulus is the first one I've seen with the whole coded nature.
Oh, what?
And the sort of like the code you pick, I've only found that in Tremulus.
Yeah, that's only in Tremulus. Yep. It's what they call a play set. There's 3 3 sort of similar-ish, and then 1 extra, like a different one. So the original one is Ebon Eves, which is a big old generator for small town America horror, Stephen King horse shit.
Weird Innsmouth style stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have a bunch of add-ons to that, but then you have this, which we're using, which is the Journey. So you generate like a travel story. And then the third one is the Frozen Wasteland, which is a winter story, because Lovecraft did a lot of that as well.
He did.
And then you have 1 extra one, which is basically like a space version. Which,
Oh, I've not seen that one.
Whenever I get to buying that, we might test that as well, see what happens. But it's
Is that like being on a cursed space station or something like that?
It's something about like a space station, I guess. I forget the details, but it's like a sci-fi hack.
I'd be down for that, that's for sure.
Yep. Okay, well, I think we're probably good to go. And it's very sort of freeform in that you can inject stuff at your leisure. We can talk about details and that kind of thing. And please study your moves, because that's how you can bring a lot of good stuff in as well. But I think we're good to go.
Sweet.
So you have your basic moves and then 3 extra moves, which are your shiz.
Yeah, you get 2 special moves and a lore move.
He gets 1 extra.
Mm-hmm.
They vary a little bit.
Oh,
He
I
gets
get
the
extra
salty
one.
dog. I know it says what it says on the goddamn sheet.
No, I
So
know that,
you-
but I don't know what other people have got, you see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know that they don't get like a move they just get.
Yeah, not everyone does that. Some of them do. Some of them have like a strong concept move at the top, like you do, the salty dog. But then a bunch of these others, they just get the list and then you pick.
I suppose mine is a very narrow channel. Like I have to be doing that one thing to get that bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very defined.
I've also got a law move. Is that something I automatically get as
Yeah.
well?
Yep. Everyone
Okay.
gets a lore move. And you power that with
Your
Law?
law? I don't have a lot of lore though. In fact, I have a very small amount of lore.
Yeah.
I
A
could
lot
do
of people don't necessarily have any when they start. And look at your basic moves, because there's some stuff there that allows you to get lore.
Oi. How do I get lore? Wait.
Convincing people. Is one
Oh, I'm
way.
not good at that. I
Puzzling things out lets you gain lore occasionally.
wasn't the thing. Okay. Oh yeah. Or 10 plus and gain 1 lore. Okay. Right.
Okay. Yeah, I think we are good to go if everyone knows what is on their sheets there.
I'm gonna say yes, but we'll.
It's fine, we'll work it out.
Yep.
Right, okay. John, are you rolling?
Yes, I've been rolling for the last 9 minutes.
Been rolling for days. Okay, well, we can start with the scene aboard the... I'm going to throw this immediately. Matthew, you're going on on the tracks. What's the name of the ship that we're currently on? It is sort of related to your interests.
Okay, the ship we're currently traveling on.
Yes.
Okay.
The ship that we're taking from the U.S. across the Atlantic.
Okay. The Silver Spear.
Silver Spear. Okay, so the Silver Spear is gliding along the waters of the Atlantic. And the camera spins around. It is nighttime. The dark abyss of the sea below us. The uncaring stars above, shining their cold light on the Silver Spear. And the camera dives in through a window into a restaurant upon this cruise vessel.
Is it our favourite restaurant aboard the boat?
It is, in fact, your favorite restaurant aboard the...
Is it the only one?
Yeah, well, that too. But it doesn't stop it from being your favorite. And it has a sizable restaurant area. It is joined by the sort of show area, I suppose, where there's currently a pianist noodling away on a piano. It says nothing special, nothing aggressive, just a pleasant sort of like a background tune. And you are set at a table and you're waiting for your dinner to arrive. And you've got your drinks all there. And yeah.
Are we at the same table or?
Yeah, well, I guess you could be at different tables, but we've established that you have previously met and dined together. Mm-hmm. So if you want to...
You know, I'm a friendly chap, so I would probably be dining with December Green if she'd have me.
Yeah, and I'd probably call you over when you came in, and suddenly,
Shifty McNibbins.
3 of us there. Yeah.
It's pronounced Caesar Lewis.
So you're calling Caesar over, and you get all settled there. You're about a week away, you've been told, if weather remains good, which it has so far been. You're about a week away from touching the shore in Spain. And as we know, this trip is one that you have the pleasure of attending with almost no expenses, because in fact, your local Chamber of Commerce in the United States has held a raffle, and you have been selected to join this journey to Spain, to the lovely, you've been told, seaside resort town of Carosera. And there is special lodgings waiting for you a little bit outside of Carosera at a sizable old storied mansion that is being currently repaired and restored to its former glory. But it has been repaired enough for it to be able to accommodate such as yourselves as guests for prolonged periods of time. So you are currently heading over to Carosera and the chateau as a group of, there's obviously more than just you, but there's a whole lot of the guests. You estimate by this point that maybe 24 people are on this trip with the explicit purpose that you are, i.e. they also got the tickets. And you're going to the chateau and you're planning on spending, as the itinerary tells you, a month there to basically just have a retreat, enjoy the local food, see the countryside of Spain, and the coastal life. So, you're about a week away from doing all that, and you're currently sat in the dining room / music hall, and you've got your drinks, and everything feels good so far.
I would say, since we've dined together before, you guys have probably noticed that when Caesar sort of like eats his food, he always like eats his food like really quickly, and he always tries to like, as though like maybe he's expecting like someone else to like take it away, and he always tries to like sit so he's like facing the doors.
Does he always check where the exits are when he comes in somewhere? Okay. I just think you're, you've served in the war. You're a little bit jittery. So I always try and like offer you a cigar or something to calm your nerves, or a nice strong scotch.
I expect probably like the first couple of times you've offered him a cigar, he's like, what do you want for it? And like over the course of like our first few meetings, he's gradually started to accept, oh, you're just being friendly, you're offering him a cigar. But like the first couple of times he'll be like, oh, what do you want for it?
We're on this trip together, there's no need to be friendly.
No, it's not that. It's just been my experience.
It's a tradition among sailors. Just say thank you, Caesar, and take one if you'd like one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We don't give out the cursed ones for free. It's a joke.
Oh.
So. Is there a band playing as well?
There's a pianist currently. You know that there's a band. It's been playing, but currently it's sort of dinner time, so there's just a pianist.
I'll be sat there sipping my bourbon.
Yes, even trumpet players need to eat.
I'll put a few requests in, for music from back home.
Mm-hmm. So, dinner arrives. What did you order each?
Sea bass, obviously.
The day's special, whatever it is.
I'll have probably just like looked at the menu, and like probably most of it's like fancy stuff I've never like heard of. Yep. So I'll have just basically pointed and gone that.
Mm-hmm. I'll sort of lean into Caesar. I see he's like, he looks confused by the menu. If it's a different language, I can translate it for you if you're not sure.
No, it's not the language that's the problem. It's just the what's an escargot?
It's a refined dish. You have good taste, sir. You should try it.
I believe they're known as wallfish.
All right, yeah, I'll have that then. Thanks, and another bourbon.
I can recommend a few wines to try with it if you want.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good with the bourbon.
I'll maybe have a whisper to the waiter and have him have a special ready just in case the gentleman doesn't like the escargot. But I do want to see his reaction to it.
Mm-hmm. Right, so they start bringing the food out, and you get your sea bass. Wonderful. You've had it probably more than once already.
Always enjoy a fresh catch.
You know what it is. you like it. So you get your regular special for today. I think, is going to be. I think it's going to be. I want to say like ox in wine sauce, like red wine
Oxtail
and ox.
soup. Yeah.
And then we have. I'm trying to think of various kinds. I've only had one kind myself when it comes to escargot. So I guess we'll just go with that. So you get your.
It's going to be a plate of snails with garlic and butter.
Yeah. There's
You
some
can
other...
say it's anything else, but that's what it always is.
Yeah, that's what it turns out to be. So yeah, it's you get this smallish plate, Caesar, which is it's not a plate as such. Like with the sea bass, for example, it's not a plate. You get this interesting affair, which to you kind of looks like if someone took the chamber out of a revolver. It's like these small like holes in this ceramic thing, which there's snails in these holes, and they've been covered with some kind of mixture of butter and garlic.
Well,
and it meant like eating method being like you dig into one of these sort of holes and you.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't look too impressed with it, but obviously, you know, given from where I'm from, you don't turn down food when you get an opportunity. So I'm probably like inexpertly like trying to use like my knife to like dig them out.
Yeah,
dig it out.
Pick up the escargot fork from the side, scoop one out for you, and offer it to you.
Yeah, it's very buttery and extremely garlicky, and you can't really tell what it is.
I'll just be like, yeah, it could be worse, I suppose, and I'll sort of imitate what you do.
The texture is a bit weird, like because you don't know what it is.
And
no
again,
one's told you.
Once I've sort of tried one or two of them, I'll sort of quickly, like as quickly as I can, like demolish all the others.
Yep. Okay, extremely. You know, if you like garlic, there's a lot of that. So, yeah. So you're not quite sure what you just ate, Caesar, but like it beats, you know, some of the dishes you've been enjoying.
It's better than bread and water diet. So,
yeah. Right. So, a wonderful dinner is indeed served. Eventually, one of the waiters is going to come by and address you, Caesar. Excuse me, sir. Would you like perhaps another dish?
No, I'll just have just another bourbon, please.
Would sir perhaps enjoy the bottle?
Yeah. Why not?
It is included. And he goes away, and he comes by, pours you another one, fresh glass, leaves the bottle on the table.
I look a lot happier about that situation. Well, you good health.
I'll top up my glass and drink to your health and to this fine ship.
What about the captain? Do you
Yeah,
have...
I'll offer him. I'll be like, since he gave me some
I'll take a
cigars,
drink.
I'll be like, bourbon, captain.
Thank you, very kind. It's always nice to enjoy a journey, a stiff drink, and entertaining company.
Yeah, it's not bad stuff. This, not bad stuff at all.
Especially during peacetime.
Yeah.
Good. Right. So I want to ask, December, have you mentioned your visions in any capacity to your fellows here? Right.
Nope.
So,
I've not even told them I'm a psychic. I'm just a well-to-do lady on a nice trip, which I'm pretty sure is going to get nasty at some point. So let's enjoy this brandy and cigar while we can.
Yeah, let's enjoy while our characters are intact.
good. Okay. Dinner does indeed wrap up. Next, it is announced that once again you get these. Sometimes there's a fellow who will now be named there is Mr. Leslie Wood, who is from the Chamber of Commerce here. Sort of, he's not necessarily facilitating the thing, but he's a representative. So occasionally Mr. Wood, he's getting on a bit as well. You're getting the idea that maybe he's taking this as a, just a holiday. Like he's here to arrange things, but really he's here.
Was he the one that gave us the tickets originally? Was he like the guy?
Yeah, when you turned up the dock, yeah. Leslie would have been, they would have been sort of given to you, but Leslie would have been the one you checked them with at the docks. So it's this elderly gentleman who is, here to oversee things and arranging things, but ostensibly he's here to get shit-faced. So he gives the occasional, this kind of like, again, the Chamber of Commerce hopes that your evening has been well and the dinner palatable. Now let us have merriment and dance. And there's the band is ushered in. So once everyone's had their dinner, smoke some cigars, knock back a couple of aperitifs. That's before. But I don't know what they call the after dinner drink. But there's dancing in the menu. Is this something that we partake of as well?
I don't see Caesar getting involved in the dancing, to be perfectly honest.
The captain's not a dancer. He's more of a tapper. He taps along to the music. Kind of just enjoys it.
And I think December's probably a bit past all that. Not really of any interest. Mm-hmm. Far more concerned with what else is going on to be able to go and enjoy dancing.
I imagine Caesar's doing that thing where he's nursing his bourbon, sort of like staring off into the middle of the distance, not really seeing the band. Like every time the camera focuses on him, there's the music gets a bit sort of warbly and a bit sort of echoey as he's like.
So, I think that's a good.
I'm enjoying the music myself. I am appreciating the technical excellence they're showing in their skill, and tapping along to the music with my foot.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, does this ship have a telegram service or something?
They do.
Okay, so I would have probably told my crew, my loyal but weirdos crew, to send me updates throughout the trip, as to what's been happening on there. Just keep me abreast. Everything's okay. So, if at any point that they need to let me that you think that they would send me a message, just let me know.
Okay.
In which case, I shall ask you, how's the crew been getting along, Captain?
It's a herbaceous bunk of oddballs, but business has been good. No unusual stowaways this time, or fallouts over gambling. It's been all right.
If you don't mind me asking, Captain, what precisely is your business?
Oh, we so we have a small trawler after retiring. And we took up a little business. We basically salvage old war wrecks for the bodies, for items, for research, and any munitions that have been left that we should safely remove. Take care of the oceans, son. They are our lifeblood. It's only a small time thing.
Well, I'll tell you word for it. It's my first time at sea.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the profession requires divers, and they are, as December knows, they can be a bit unusual. Deep water can affect a man. Change them. Scar them.
Aye, the sea.
The sea exacts a terrible price.
Well, I think it might be time to top up the drinks, gentlemen. If only to try and cheer the room.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, do recall that you have a move called Read a Person. I guess, in a charged situation, which this unless one of you determines that it is.
Since
is
that
not.
bottle's looking empty, I might sidle over to the bar where Mr. Wood is sitting and see if I can perhaps get a read on him. I'd like to ask him about the town that we're going to.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm fascinated with history. Do tell me all about it, and I'll buy him a glass of whatever. And I'll send a waiter with some bourbon over to these guys again.
All right. So that is indeed all that we need to hear for a convince move. So you can roll your 2d6.
Now I was going for a read a person move.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that is also an option, of course. The function is quite different between those two. So with the read a person, you can
I think it's
gain...
going to be more my instinct though here.
Yeah. So with a read a person, you can gain insight about Mr. Wood in this instance. With convince, you can tell him, do this.
So I need convince to get him to tell me all about it, right? Okay.
Not necessarily. We'll see what happens, but this is...
I mean, it's the same number either way. So I've rolled a 5 and I get +2, so it's a 7 either way.
7. Right, okay, so... you want to know all about Carosera from Mr. Wood, who is getting into his cups, and you're helping him.
If necessary, I'll also take him for a stroll around the promenade to get some air, but hopefully that's enough. So, tell me about Carosera.
I need some concrete assurance right now. Well, he I think he yeah, we can go on a bit of a walk, sure, because the band is starting up as well, so
Yeah.
there's that.
If I need to get him somewhere quieter to be able to get the information out of him that I want, grand.
So, I don't know, maybe we can go to the deck for a bit. So you can pop out. He leaves the drink at the bar. You take a quick stroll. You're outside now in the bracing evening air. And it is indeed quite cold, often on the open sea. So he offers you his jacket and then digs back into the jacket.
I'll have my own jacket.
Okay, so he starts taking it off until he notices, he leaves it on and digs out a pipe and starts, preparing the pipe. And as he's doing so, he's sort of... He feels kind of weird and awkward somehow. And it's not just him being drunk. And he says, well, Mrs. Green, before getting to Carosera, how do you feel about the journey so far here on our good ship, the Silver Spear?
It's been marvellous, and I'll spiel off like half a dozen of the crewmen that I've spoken to that I like, and something that he personally has been involved in that's been good. Doesn't matter what it is, just like, oh yes, the boarding was very well organised. I could see you were really in your stride there. We all have a great deal of faith in you.
It's quite the burden of leadership, I suppose. It is quite something. To tell you the truth, sometimes it does get the better of me, and I... Can I confide in you, Mrs. Green?
Always.
Out here with... He lights the pipe, puffs it. Have you been sleeping quite well?
Have I?
You're free to determine that on your own.
Well, I haven't been on a ship since I was a girl, and obviously the shifting motion when one's trying to sleep can cause some problems.
A bit of the seasickness?
Sometimes, and sometimes strange dreams. Have you been having strange dreams?
He almost drops the pipe as, as you bring that up. And he somehow has managed to just irritate his throat, and he launches into a fit of coughs.
I'll take a bottle out of the pocket on my big jacket and hand it to him.
Thank you. And he takes a swig, hands it back. Oh, well, to tell you the truth, Mrs. Green, it has been very difficult, and I have been on many a boat. It is not the sea that troubles me. Not quite sure why the arms of Morpheus have rebuffed me, so I find it very difficult to find rest.
So he's not sleeping at all?
Restless thoughts. At all hours, odd hours. I fear I'm making quite a fool of myself, spending so much time at the restaurant and imbibing so. But I find it is the balm that my sleep-deprived mind requires right now. It is a poor substitute to take to Bacchus instead of Morpheus, I suppose. But it is one does what one can.
Okay. Notes on.
And he's quite flustered as well, because he's clearly ashamed of this. Like, oh, I'm drinking myself to sleep because I can't sleep regularly.
Another way is like, can I confide in you, Miss Green? I'm getting rate tanked every night.
Yep. I suppose he's relating to you quite a bit because, like, you're a little bit older as well, and he's older, so he doesn't want to. You know, he wants like someone who could relate to his problems.
Yeah, I'll do my best to cheer him up a little bit and try and get a little bit more information out of him. But yeah, this probably.
You still have your
so,
like you had a success. You had succeeded.
So,
this is just him, you know, being like, oh, let me bother you with my stuff.
Conversation.
Yeah,
that success pretty much lasts for the whole conversation.
Yeah,
right, okay.
you're getting your stuff, but he's just he needs to offload this stuff.
Yeah, I'll remind him that the more he drinks, the less it'll affect him, but that I understand why he's drinking. Perhaps suggest that he talk to the ship's doctor and get a sleeping draft for an evening instead of...
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, yes.
Instead of getting blotto every night. Just because
it's
nice to be able to get blotto.
Says the woman who's been plying him with drinks at the bar.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, so you give him the advice?
I'll sort of weave that into commiserating on him not being able to sleep and trying to get some details about what he's been dreaming about.
He doesn't have very exact ideas of what he's dreaming about. He says that he forgets them.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when he wakes up, he has this little notebook that he got when he figured, I'm I don't know, like trying to write some thoughts out in the dark hours of the night when I'm not sleeping.
Yeah, dream journal. That was going to be my next suggestion.
Yeah, and he says that he's sometimes he's found he doesn't remember he's like sorry, I'll get back to him. So don't really recall a lot of these short periods of actual rest. What happens? I know I do dream, but I never remember what it is. But sometimes when I wake up, it's oh dear. I do quite think that there's entries in the little notebook that I did not write there in my hand, and
do you know what I do for a living, Mr. Wood?
Perhaps manage an inheritance?
Well, indeed, that's true. But in my spare time, I like to help people who think they might be haunted or similar such strange goings on. Now, I prefer to find things that aren't hauntings, and I do my best to help people find the real cause when something like this happens. I would very much like to be able to help you if you would let me, Mr. Wood. To help you find an explanation for what's happening here.
Well, as a Christian man, I'm quite sure. I don't quite know if it's proper to be trucking with the.
Oh no, you misunderstand me. I'm not one of those crazy psychic people. I like to help people who, perhaps, it would be better if I told you about one of my old cases. And I'll give him some story about some family that think they're being haunted, and how I managed to track it down to being some problem with a mechanism in a house 2 doors down, and how everybody in the street thought they were being haunted, but actually it was just this broken machine, and now it's fixed, everybody's fine. But there were all these psychics trying to steal people's money, and I hate that. It's terrible. I've got my own money. I don't need to take yours. But I would love to help you find an explanation. Would it be possible for me to take a look at your journal?
Perhaps at a later time. I need to do a bit of thinking on this matter. Perhaps with the clarity provided by the ship's doctor.
If possible, I want to stick a Greek reference in, and I don't know like the name for whatever Greek spirit of like reason or knowledge there would
probably
be.
the muse.
But yeah, I'll drop the appropriate name of whatever muse it is, because he's blatantly into his Greek gods and stuff.
Yeah, he is.
And tell him to like listen to the voice of that muse.
It's like, he clearly it's a lot to process for him, especially because he's drunk, and he eventually gets onto your point, which is enough of an old man and his drunken tomfoolery. Carosera is a fine coastal town. Long history of fishing, as many coastal towns do. A bit of trade. There's a trawler, in fact, in our wake. Something mercantile interests. Growing, of course, trade does that to a place. Spain is a wonderful country. if I wasn't so invested in our family's holdings in the home, perhaps I would retire in Spain. But it will have to do to partake of this retreat for now. The particulars of your and our indeed accommodations. The town itself is, of course, Caracera, and we have arranged for the locals who are, well, not all of them, it is not a community project as such, but there are interests who are restoring this old mansion close by to Caracera, which is, if I have my facts straight, it is of originally French origin, indeed. The name escapes me, and he thinks about it and then hits a, oh, yes. It is the Charbonneau Chateau, named after the original Frenchman who commissioned it, lived in it. I'm not sure. Perhaps only lived in it, but for he was an artiste of some renown, a sculptor of stones, I believe. Perhaps clay as well. Gabriel Charbonneau was his name, as I now recall. Long past, but the name still remains. The mansion was in poor repair, but the locals are seeking to turn it into something else. They're not quite sure if it will be a retreat such as it is for us now, or perhaps some other use. But it is an old stone mansion. I've been told that the half of it is fully in use. There's some staff on location, and we will of course take some of ours as well from the ship. And we will be all set for perhaps not the exact same comforts here. It will be difficult to transport the piano onto the shore. But yes, it should be fine. A splendid month. And we will, of course, have the chance to sample many of the local delicacies as well. I see that one fellow of yours, Caesar Lewis, always with the taste for food. Quite insatiable, that one.
Oh, indeed. I think he probably went hungry in the war.
Oh, terrible business. He shakes his head.
We all have our things to keep us down, but this journey certainly seems to be lightening his mood. I think he's grown a little happier every day since we left port in America.
Well, if we can lift his spirits, I suppose that would be already on its own a fine end result for this journey.
Indeed.
It is quite chilly, don't you think? Perhaps we should head back to the bar.
Yes, and I think the captain will be there as well. He too has been very much enjoying your work. Perhaps once you've dropped me to the bar, it might be wise for you to go and get that sleeping draft.
Quite. Perhaps so.
Sleep, dickhead.
Yeah. So you walk him back to the bar.
Oh,
So by the time you get back in the bar, I'm going to have been getting crunked with the captain.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna
We're going to be like 2 bottles of rum down.
In
a
fact,
couple of.
I think it's probably wise to just walk him back to his quarters, because then I can probably try and get my mitts on that book. But yeah, I'll try and persuade him that he needs to go and get some sleep.
Yeah. No, he's on board. And he's drunk, so.
Yeah. I'll just walk him through the bar, say goodnight to people, and then go and put him to bed and nick his book.
Okay. Good stuff. So we can make a second roll there. Let's see what we come up with here. Poke around would be the thing for looking for stuff.
I'm probably going to try and ask you, like, convince him to hand it over to me. That's far easier and far.
That's a good.
Far more sort of in fitting with what I've already said I'm going to be doing.
Yep.
It's a 7 again.
7 again. So he, you're in his quarters, and he's all sat on his bed. He retrieves it from under his bed, and it's just a like a moleskin, small thing, and before he hands it over, he's still in a drunken haze, but there's some clarity in his eyes that wasn't there before as he's sort of showing it to you, and he says, "Now, Mrs. Green, I do quite have to extract a promise that you will not distribute these scribblings."
Of course. Why, I wouldn't dream of doing anything like that. I'm truly grateful that you are willing to let me help you with this situation. And I would not dream of trying to make it worse for you in any way. Certainly not by having a loose tongue.
It's quite wonderful to have such people on board with an eye for propriety. Miss Green, I feel quite lightheaded. I believe I'll take a bit of a.
Yep.
He lays down.
Grand.
So you can have his notebook.
Yep. I'm probably going to go back to my own quarters and leaf through that.
Mm-hmm.
That'll probably take me a few hours. So
yeah, it's going to be something. Caesar and Captain Reed, is it? What's up? What's up at the bar?
I'm retired.
I think I've probably just been chatting to Captain Reed, and when he did his whole the sea can change a man sort of earlier on, I'll probably just be like, we've had a fair bit of bourbon now, so we're probably a bit sort of tipsy by now. And although I'll be like not revealing like my character's precise background, I'll be sort of nodding along and agreeing with him, and I'll saying, well, I might not know a lot about the sea captain, but you're right. Things that happen to a man can change him. And sometimes it can be difficult to sort of see things the way you saw them before.
So I've got a cigar in my mouth, kind of bit of a.
I've probably taken out like a packet of like cigarettes, like you know the stereotypical like slightly crumpled up like so like all the like cigarettes are like a bit bent and a bit sort of like dog-eared.
Yeah.
And I've sort of put one in my mouth. There's maybe like just like a slight shake to my hand as I'm sort of talking about how like things can change a man, and I'm like lighting this like cigarette.
Just giving him the whole different tales of the sea. The sea is like a mistress you meet on a velvet night, son. There's no overcoming that storm. You just got to ride it out.
So
And wonders can be found.
I like to think we're sort of like talking with each other, but we're both talking about different things. So I'm sort of obliquely being like, oh, I've seen some shit. Like dark things can happen to a man. These things change a man. You're never the same once you've stared into the darkness. And you're like, the sea's like a fine mistress. You've got to court her and you take her by the hand and let her lead you across the velvet waves. And we're both having these two different conversations, like, but we both think like we're both talking about the same thing, even though we're like not.
He understands. He comes from the land, but he understands.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's obviously like seen some like dark stuff during his time.
So, how much do you drink by the time you're done?
Oh, I mean, I'm not at work. I'm just enjoying myself. So quite a bit.
You're retired.
See, whereas Caesar is actually like planning to like go out in the evening when there's few people about and have a quick shufty around. So what he's actually been doing is he's actually been sort of like surreptitiously like waiting, because he can handle like a fair bit of like the bourbon. That's why he picked it, 'cause it's his drink of choice. But he's been making sure that like although it seems like he's keeping up, he's only actually having maybe like one shot for like every 3 the captain's having.
Yeah, that's very easy to do if you keep topping up the drinks before they're finished.
Yeah, I'll keep topping it up. And
I'll sort of, up to 4 fingers, top mine up to 1 finger.
Exactly, yeah. I'll have a little sip of mine, and then I'll be like, "Oh, you finished yours. Time for a top." And I'll just put a little drop in mine because I want people to think, "Oh yeah, he's dead drunk," and at some point I'm going to make an excuse to be like, "Oh, I've been a bit lightheaded. I might have to go and have a lie down." Then I'm planning to like get up after the hours of darkness with like my torch and my gloves and like go and have a bit of look about. But I want, if anyone like is like, "Oh, who was sneaking about the ship?" I want it to be like, "Oh, it couldn't be Caesar," because he was like three sheets to the wind and he like staggered back. So I'm deliberately putting on the act as though I'm like more drunk than I am.
And the captain, how much did you put away?
Oh, a fair bit. A fair bit.
Oh,
A fair bit.
the whole bottle.
I don't. My character doesn't even know how much he's drank precisely. He measures it more in cigars. He's had like 3 cigars, and the music's changed.
I imagine we've
Done
gone
his
through.
time. He's now trying to just wind down his life and enjoy, the peace years after quite a few turbulent decades.
I imagine, and obviously feel free to correct me, Matthew, we've probably gone through like a couple of bottles of bourbon, and I've maybe drunk like half a bottle's worth.
Yeah.
And like, I've kept like topping up the rest for like the captain, so he's maybe had like a bottle and a half's worth.
I've been having captain measures, absolutely. Good ration.
And like basically like, every time like the captain gets distracted or he's off in his revelry, I'll sort of like make as like, "Oh, I've just topped mine up," even though I haven't, and then I'll be like, "Oh no," and I'll make some like spurious like toast, like, "Oh, it's all the good men who've been lost at sea," and stuff like that. I'm just swigging it back.
Let me tell you, son, you've made it when you're on a vessel where the music is actually in tune and not being sung by a band of
Brigands.
brigands.
Well, let's just say, Captain, it's very different to the sort of music I'm used to hearing.
You're more of a countryman?
No, I've spent a lot of time in the city.
Oh, more of a jazz kind of guy.
Oh, more a sort of ad hoc, like sort of folk music.
Oh, one of those weird new age lads. That's fine. It's fine. We all enjoy different things, right?
Indeed.
The sea takes all kind.
The sea takes all kinds. Exactly.
She makes no distinction, but she's a flighty mistress. and after a bit of sort of looking around, I'll be like, "Oh, well, it's getting fairly late, Captain. I think this bourbon's gone quite to my head. I think I'm gonna, with your leave, I'm gonna retire for the evening and, wake up with hopefully fresh eyes in the morning."
You don't need my permission, son, but you enjoy yourself.
"Good evening to you, Captain." And then I'm going to sort of stand up doing the slightly like exaggerated like wobble as I walk to my quarters, trying to make sure like quite a lot of people, like probably like doing a little bit of singing, like deliberately for effect. So like a few people will deliberately see me. So if anyone's like mentions like something untoward went on, there'll be like a few people will be like, "Oh yeah, I saw him. He was like drunk as staggering back to his like quarters."
So your plan is to go a Robin, is that right?
No, my plan's not to go a robbing, because I'm like, there's no point. Because like, if I rob loads of stuff, all they've got to do is search the ship, and like the best I could do is hide stuff, and then I've got to worry about like offloading it when I get to the other end, which is difficult if they're on the lookout. So what my plan actually is because obviously I'm on this cruise trying to get away. What my plan is I'm like, obviously ideal situation. I want to get to Spain, enjoy all the luxury that's promised, then at the end of that, slide away into the shadows and be gone. However, I know there's a telegram on board. I can't overlook the possibility that like they might rumble me at some point and realise I'm not the guy who's supposed to be here. So what I'm going to do is, in the hours of darkness when there's few people out, I'm going to take my torch and I'm basically going out and I'm going to like check out like where like the lifeboats are and be looking for like, oh, if I did get rumbled, what are my potential ways off the ship? Obviously, I'm hoping not to have to do that because I don't know much about like navigating the 7 seas. But just on the off chance, I want to know where all the lifeboats are, like where the ways off the ship are, effectively. But like, there'll be some suspicion if I'm like, no reason, but could you like tell me where all the lifeboats are? So I'm just generally having a bit of a scout around, slightly paranoid, because I do feel like a bit trapped on the ship at the minute, because like there's nowhere we can go. So like, I'm just like, if stuff did go south, what would be my exit strategy? And that's what I'm trying to do.
And you will have noted that there is another ship following you.
Yep.
So you know that.
Yeah, we know the trawlers out there.
There's that as well. Yeah. So next thing is December is leafing through this notebook, which it has like legitimate just like note stuff in it, which is not related at all to anything really, and it's kind of hard to make out like what is this, because it's sensible and it relates to something that you don't have the context for. But there is some what he called the scribblings, and it's mostly kind of just like glossolalia nonsense, like words and then just random scratchings, and the thing that you pick up from a lot of the well, is there a okay, we can. You're clearly puzzling things out here, so we can get that on. So 2d6 plus your reason would be the thing that happens.
8.
8. Okay, you can ask one of the questions lined out there.
Okay, how does X fit into Y? How does the scribblings in these notebooks fit into my vision of something gribbly happening later?
This is the kind of thing that whatever has led you here is trying, like, there's your vision is warning you of exactly this thing. So you're the thing that you're picking up from this, and it is nonsense, so it takes you a long old while to puzzle things out there, but you're picking up like the way that things have been written there. It's obviously in a great deal of a lot of motion goes on to whatever has been written there. It's been quite savagely scratched in very quickly, forcefully as well. Some of the pages are a bit, punched through, and there's just a lot of aggression and sort of a lot of the words that you can make out that are actual words are kind of violent in some way. In whether in just purely just like stab or crush. It's either that or the context that leads you to think that.
What I'm thinking at the moment is there's something gribbly waiting for us, either at the castle or nearby. This guy Wood is in control of the something gribbly. Sorry, the something gribbly is in control of this guy Wood.
That is what you're...
some level.
Whatever level that is.
That's Wood is bringing us there, and that he's starting to realise what it is he's doing. That's why he's so conflicted about it. But yeah, he's still going to just take us and feed us to whatever that gribbly thing is, and there's nothing he can do about it, and there's probably not much I can do about it at this point, because either way the ship's going to go in. I don't think he's going to go and have that nice retirement that he's expecting, though. I think he's probably going to get fed to the gribbly thing with us.
Sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we brought an optimistic psychic with us.
I just don't really think there's much I can do to help him. I think there might be something I can do to help myself and these other two guys, and maybe if he's really lucky, my chauffeur.
Well, depends on if he has a carmine shirt on. Right, so you read, you pore over this small notebook with the sort of inane scribblings in it. We have Caesar prowling the ship like a burglar, not burgling though. And we have Captain Nixon absolutely tanked, wandering back to his cabin. And in the dark hours of the night, you still, December, up reading this. Caesar, you're coming back as well, having completed your sort of survey.
Yep.
You know where the lifeboats are, where the life vests are, the survival gear on the ship. You know about that. And Captain Nixon, you're floating on a cloud of good feeling.
And bourbon.
And
good bourbon vibes.
Your cabins are all on the same corridor on the ship. And by fate, you happen to stumble back there at roughly the same time, not exactly at the same time. Nixon, you're probably like around the corner, because it takes you a bit because you can't really see that well now because you're drunk. Caesar, you're coming back. You're starting to fish for your keys when you see a woman exit a cabin on one side of the corridor. She is dressed in sort of nice enough evening gown that you don't necessarily think fits her that well. And let me refer to my notes here. So she steps out of this cabin. You're on this side of the corridor. Captain, you're approaching from the other side. She turns to look at you, and there is a glimmer in her eyes, which you did see, Caesar, in your previous place of residence. And in fact, you recall that she was a resident too. And during a particular escapade, which allowed for you to leave your previous place of residence, you knew that there was a chance that someone else might have escaped too. You think you've seen this woman there before. She's here in clearly stolen clothes.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm like, oh, loose-fitting clothes on a ship bound for Spain. That sounds familiar.
She looks at you with these glimmering, like there's nothing like supernatural about it, but the light sort of glints wetly in her eyes, and she raises a hand, which is covered in blood, to her lips and presses it on her lips as if to like motion for silence. And as she steps, what you presume is
I'll interrupt her before
cabin.
She steps into a different cabin.
Yeah. Yeah, she just puts the bloody hand, leaving a smear on her lips.
Yeah. So what have I seen Captain Reed? Like, because it's a long corridor.
I think you're probably hearing in the distance.
Yeah.
Something like.
So hearing sort of like the drunk Captain Reed coming down, and I'm like, oh, if he catches me with this woman, she's got blood on her hands, I can see that, I know what that means. This is going to cause some, not just awkward questions for her, because if that was the case, I'd be like, it's her problem. But also, perhaps for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of go up to the woman, like right next to her, so basically get in the way so she can't step through the door. If like I can see the door to the blood, no doubt blood-stained cabin she's just come out with is open, I'm like, kick it shut with my foot.
Yep, you close it. You catch a glimpse. You think there's probably not a great scene waiting for you there?
Yeah, I'm like, I'll investigate that later. I haven't got time to worry about that now. So I'm going to kick that shut with 1 foot, basically thinking, oh, at least the captain won't see it. And then I'm going to sort of pull her close as though, like, I'm embracing her. And I'm going to be like, oh, cousin, it's been ages since I've seen you. Sort of like making my voice a bit louder so that, like, the captain will hear me. Then as I sort of pull her close, like, very quietly in her ear, I'm just going to go, like, just go with it. If you know what's good for you.
She says, "Thank you, I will." And she's going to try and stab you in the kidneys with the butterfly knife in her other hand. So this would be.
That's one way of going for it.
So,
Oh, Danny boy, I'm just gonna.
The pipes are calling.
Yeah, well, I guess
down the corridor.
I guess it's up to you. Like, what do you do? She's gonna stab you. Is the thing? What do you do? I guess if your intent is sort of like, oh, we're gonna fake it here, and we're gonna let the captain pass. It's gonna be cool.
My plan is as she's gonna stab me. My plan is using my strength. I'm like might +3. My plan is basically to like wrench the knife out of her hand and basically just be like, oh, you found that knife I dropped. Oh, and then like shove her into the room and being like, oh, let's sit down and have a chat and catch up. And then I'm going to like step after her and shut the door. And then I can like have the knife and be like, what's going on? But we'll be outside of everybody.
So I think this is probably then act under pressure.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, the slight pressure there.
Okay. So that's roll plus reason. Oh, this will be good. 4.
Okay, so Captain, you turn the corner and you see Caesar Lewis hugging some lady in a sort of appropriate evening wear. And,
that's right, son. Make the best of your trip. That's right.
That's right,
what
son.
I said. That's what I said.
And you hear Caesar going, hoo, hoo! And Caesar, let's look at this. There's a different roll for this as well. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Roll plus harm or damage or something like that.
Yeah, so roll plus damage. Okay, and the damage is then.
Is this the end for Caesar Lewis?
Caesar.
It's ironic that you're getting stabbed with your character.
Ed 2, mental woman.
Yeah. Okay. Where's the damage?
See, I was trying to resist the urge to resort to violence, but
yeah.
Every time I try and get out, they pull me back in.
Pull me back in. Okay, here we go. 2 harm. So roll +2. So 2d6 +2.
That is a 4.
A 4. So that means the keeper can still choose something from the 7 to 9 list above. If they do, it's reduced by 1. Okay, so what I will say is that is in fact true. So you take 1 damage only. So it wasn't a very good stab.
Okay.
But you lose your grip on whatever you're holding. So you lose your grip on her.
Oh, on her.
Yeah, on her, yeah. Okay. So she bolts as the captain rounds the corner and just is gone through the basically the door that Caesar you were using to come into the corridor.
She'll be back, lad. She'll be back.
At this point, I've been shanked. I'm gonna like drop the pretense and also like stagger over, put a hand on the captain to try and steady myself, and you'll see that like my other hand's like holding my side and there's like blood leaking over my hand.
Love is it? Oh boy, you look like you're.
I'm going to pull him close, and I'm relying on the fact that he's really drunk, so he might like buy this line of holy shit I'm about to try selling him. I'm going to be like, look, Captain, I probably shouldn't tell you this, Look, I didn't serve in the war. I'm undercover. That woman is a dangerous escaped criminal. We need to inform the stewards. She's dangerous. I expect she's already killed one man, and I jerk my head in the direction of the door that I slammed shut. And she very nearly did for me.
Well, that's a tall tale. A tall tale indeed. Let's get.
At which point I'm gonna throw the door open so he can see the scene of carnage. Hopefully that might make him buy into it a bit more.
Okay, Captain. In this cabin that you've been instructed to view,
what?
there's a man that has been disemboweled in his bed, and it's real bad in there, and it smells worse as well because
Neptune's oysters.
It's the innards are on the outside now and lacerated, so it's horrifying inside.
Do I have to make a sand roll of some description, or is this just?
Yeah, in fact.
No, I mean I don't have to. I'm just saying.
No. This is the thing that you weren't gonna get, but Caesar is gonna make you do it.
Also, if I have to make one, that's fine.
Yeah. Unless you have something on your moves to mitigate that, then.
I think I've got something. Act under pressure. I've got
That's just a standard move.
Oh, when confronting a horror, other characters present may reduce any shock they suffer by 1. And
Is that something you have?
So it's steadfast, yeah. So a calming influence. So I get a +1 act under pressure, but also on a 10+ when confronting a horror, other characters present reduce any shock they suffer by 1 and increase their trust in you by 1. If they would have suffered no shock, it doesn't affect the trust.
Okay, let's see how this works. So, oh yeah, it's act under pressure. So, roll plus reason. Then.
Okay.
I get a +1.
10 for me.
So that's 6. I get 9. No, 10. I get 10 because I get the +1. Woo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we open it to this shocking display and we're both like,
Seen worse. The sea is a mischievous mistress. Okay.
And I'm just like, I wouldn't saw a man get stabbed over a bowl of porridge, so what are you going to do?
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's okay for both of you because you rolled really well on that. So yeah, you don't take shock.
Because I'm on the ship, you see. I'm used to stuff happening on ships. I've seen it.
The sea, it drives men mad.
So I think after we've seen that again, I'm going to shut the door so that like no one else stumbles across it. And if there's like, I don't know, if they have like do not disturb signs or whatever, I'll flip that over. And then I think we're going to go and try and find the stewards or the.
Should we not get you to a physician first? Bandage that up.
I'll be like, there's time for that later, Captain. We need to get to the stewards and make sure this miscreant is apprehended.
Okay, allow me one moment to find my sea legs as I start to take you under my wing.
Okay, so from this point on, being conscious of the time as well, there's going to be some aggressive scene framing here to get us where we need to be. So you inform the crew basically that this has happened, and they like time passes, and you will arrive in Europe. The ship's crew have apprehended this individual, who you come to learn is Bella Ward, an escaped mental patient, and the ship's doctor has established that she has suffered a psychotic episode while on this ship, which has unfortunately resulted in the death of this unfortunate passenger.
And it is a passenger.
Yeah.
I was sort of expecting it to be that Leslie Wood guy.
Nah. It was it was someone who was just on the ship trying to travel, and
Will I have healed up by the time we arrive, or?
yes.
Cool.
especially because
Get the ship's doctor to have a look at me.
the doctor is here and you like everything's taken care of. Your situation is good. So, right. There have been several altercations since then. The mood is quite tense now, and there's been some fights at the bar, which have been managed. But
is anyone sleeping? I will talk to these two about it. Are they dreaming? Are they dreaming about anything odd?
I probably don't sleep particularly well anyway, because I've been having like bad dreams since like the year dot. So I'll be like, I was never a deep sleeper anyway. But I got good old Johnny Walker here to like see me off to dreamland.
Everyone's sort of very tense now, and I guess a part of that would sort of dribble into dreams as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a whole bunch of nightmares, and just various stressful events have.
I think I'll have probably suggested in the latter stage of the journey that with these fights breaking out in the bar, maybe like the three of us, instead of meeting in the public bar, maybe we'll like meet in one of our rooms and have a few drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're getting on pretty well, but it's like, why tempt fate?
Mm-hmm.
I've already been stabbed once.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's like being back in the institute again. Okay, so we're gonna. Time passes.
Can I just ask for a 5-minute break here?
Yep, sure.
Cheers.
That's fine. So, we'll do that for 5 minutes.
Intermission music.
Intermission.
I might go grab a drink if that's okay, guys.
Yeah,
if we're taking a quick.
If you can do that in 5 minutes, yeah. Yeah, he got the taste for the bourbon now.
That's it. Get out, man! I've not drunk actual bourbon for like God knows how many years.
Mm-hmm. This, I find, is quite a bit more to manage than the Ebon Eve's location focus.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Ebon Eve's one is obviously whilst it's a bit more, I suppose, restrictive, it's very, very self-contained.
Yeah.
Whereas the Arctic one and the Journeys one, obviously there's more possibilities, but also they're a bit more expansive, so there's a bit more to manage with them.
Mm-hmm. And I was playing with the idea of, I was like, we'll see what happens, what people decide to do, and we might have just played out on the ship for the whole thing, but I think we're good to go for a little bit of the land action as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's why the Ebon Eves one's like a really good starter one, because it is so sort of self-contained, and then by the time you're a bit more comfortable with the sort of like the rules and how it works, it makes sense that they chose to do the Journeys one and the Arctic one like afterwards. In the same way as like with like classic D&D, you start off with your dungeons, then when you sort of clear with the rules, you go into your wilderness stuff and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it might not have been the best choice, really, coming back to Tremulus again since, like, who knows how long it's been. But yeah, it's always fun, and the game itself is quite a bit, like, it presents itself as being way more involved than it is.
Yeah, I mean, if we can sort out a date, I'd be quite happy to run to brush up on it and run like another one shot at some point. So I do very much enjoy it as a one shot game.
Yep, it is very nice. I did run that one campaign years ago now with Tremulus. We sort of had 2 different seasons as well, and it turned into this kind of our own sort of in the mind's eye, like the Pacific Northwest, Twin Peaksy mountain town. A lot of stuff went down there, and we played for a long time in that it was good.
How did it work as like a campaign game? Because I've never done it as one shots.
I did quite like it. What we did with sort of progression was that when we switched seasons, I think we picked like an extra move for everyone, and if people wanted to, they could switch playbooks as well, like evolve the character.
Yeah.
So we had one author character who, started out as an author, but when we switched the season, the character became a psychic.
Cool.
So we did stuff like that.
I think it might be quite interesting, in a sort of semi like West Marches style, if you sort of like ran a series of loosely linked one shots, and you had like people who could just like turn up with their character from previous one shots, but you could potentially have like a different group of people who played characters in different games. I think that might be potentially interesting.
Yeah, it might be cool to have like, because you kind of need the location for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not to say that you couldn't make like excursions, but that's it. I think it's probably at least it sounds like if you had an urban environment for that, it might work better. So let's say you have a haunted city, and then you have like these different groups going in, like once again, Spook Town is under threat.
I think you could sort of you could also do a bit like that like Night Vale podcast where there's like the weird town with all like weird stuff going on in it. I think you could potentially like adapt Ebon Eves to that, where it's like you're in the sort of like Erie, Indiana style sort of town, and then like each sort of episode is like another strange thing happening or looking at a different aspect of this like weird sort of town.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
So we'll wait.
There is Matthew still.
Yeah, I'm going to the loo while we're waiting for Matthew. I've probably got a good like 15 minutes. He said it'd be fine.
Hello.
Hello.
You just missed John trying to kill me with the headphones.
Going for your strangulation in the bedroom. Cluedo.
That's why they're on this ear.
Yeah. She's got them. Oh, munchies. Nice. I got some. I got a nice cup of tea to help with the sea hangover I'm going to have in the morning.
It occurred to me that I hadn't eaten yet today.
All right. Okay. So, we're going to jump into land.
Sweet.
So, you've arrived in Spain. It has remained kind of tense. Everyone's kind of in a bad mood, and but you've made your way to Spain and Carcera. It is a city on the coast, small town rather than like a big city. It's kind of that halfway point between becoming more, I guess, in the 20s, kind of industrial and agrarian. So it's transitioning from being full-on agrarian to being a bit more industrialized and being a bit more mercantile in nature. And on a particularly scenic outcropping of cliff, at the coastline, a little bit further north from Carcera, is the Charbonneau Chateau. And you've set up camp there. It is indeed a splendid French Gothic manor house, designed with a lot of artistic sensibilities and functionality far behind. You've got your own bedrooms in the house. It's a fairly big place, and there's a lot of ground as well. As we discussed previously, you've come to know that this place was originally inhabited by Thomas. Was it Thomas? Let me refer to my notes here. Gabriel Charbonneau. And this man was an artiste, sculptor to be specific, and that shows. So there's a lot of Charbonneau sculptures in the gardens of this manor house, and there is a good number of sort of detail work on the manor house itself that people think probably Charbonneau did as well, but they're not exactly sure. But they know that a bunch of the garden ones specifically, he definitely did. He was a bit of a recluse, didn't really interact too much with the, and of course this is a fairly old place as well. Like Gabriel Charbonneau has been dead for quite a long time. We're in the 1920s now. This would have been a long time ago, and there's been people living there since, like his descendants, I presume, but it hasn't been inhabited for let's say half a century now fully. So it's been run down and decrepit, but there apparently maybe some legal issues got resolved, and now they're trying to put it to use again and restore it. And you're there. Your accommodations are quite splendid indeed. You have nice private rooms. There's a big kitchen which produces wonderful dinners, which you enjoy in the large dining hall of the manor house itself. Yeah, so there is, let's see, speed reading my notes here. Okay. Right, okay, I'm gonna have to refer to a thing. Apologies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So there is in fact a a bit of a lake as well on the chateau lands. It's not very large by any means, but still, it's not a pond. It is in fact a lake. And yeah, there's a lot of sculpture work. It's not a lot of the people have decided to stick around. They kind of got sour on the whole thing with the boat trip being thrown off at the 1 week off the shore. So I'd say there's a dozen people, including yourselves and Leslie Wood. There's a cook. Let's see. So that's the three of you. There's Leslie. There's cook. So that's 5. And then 7 other. I guess there's going to be 2 sort of staff, and that leaves 5 other guests. So that means that roughly half of the guests have decided to, not really feeling it, because they probably got into fights at the bar as well, so they don't want to necessarily spend all this time with each other here at the chateau. But yeah, you 3 and 5 other guests have decided to partake. I think we're gonna cut into.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
So,
Mm-hmm.
once we've got here and we've like had a day or so of being at the castle and doing touristy things,
Yep.
by this point we're gonna know that there's something creepy going on with this castle.
Mm-hmm.
My character's instinct, or my instinct, is to find a local and get them to tell us the creepy ghost story about the castle. I'm not entirely sure how we would go about doing this, but if we could cut to that scene, that'd be a good way to get us back on track as well.
Right, okay. So, we're gonna cut into the lot of you in Carrocera, in a tavern. You're having a couple of brews, and there's a local man called Hugo Escriva, who you've been talking to, and Hugo has given you the spiel. The locals don't really like the Charbonneau place.
I like to think you might have noticed December Green, that like when you're like, oh, there's some spooky shit going down, and you're like on about ghosts and whatever, like, my character does not seem sceptical at all. Like, I don't even raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, I'd clocked you. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. If not, just know that something similar is happening here.
Shotgun on the table.
Same to yourself, Captain. We all know things happen at sea.
They certainly do.
But yeah, I think this guy knows the story, and if I take him this drink, do you want to just like come and quietly sit with us, maybe light a cigar each, and let's see what he's got to tell us?
I'll bring out a box of cigars that no doubt went missing on the ship in the last days of the voyage, and sort of crack them open and offer one to both the captain and also to this person who's going to tell us the story, and then sit there like puffing cigars.
Yeah, I'm going to take a cigar, take a seat.
Right, so what's your opening gambit? You know that this is the guy. He's local. He seems to be sort of in the know. And he has opinions, at least, about the place.
I think this is an ideal situation to throw money at it. Tell him that I like spooky stories, that I think my friends would be most impressed with one of his spooky stories. Yes, these friends that have just given you these cigars and this lovely drink.
Have you seen this size of my doubloons?
We're sure that there's some spooky stories about the old castle, and we're sure he is the man to tell them.
So you communicate through the captain, I presume. The captain is the man with the languages?
I can do. Yeah, I speak whatever language you have, son.
But yeah, I'll basically be feeding you lines like that and let you do the actual talking. He'll probably be more amenable to a bloke trying to impress a woman than he would a woman trying to impress men as well.
I like to imagine that whatever language he speaks, like the captain still has that stereotypical like yeah, sort of like voice to him. Bonjour, matey.
Buongiorno.
So, you give Hugo money to tell his story, and he will, in fact, give you what the locals think. So, Gabriel Charbonneau was a brilliant sculptor, and he made all these great things you can see on the chateau lands. But he was also not that successful, because the things that he did, now bear in mind you can only see a little bit of what he accomplished. Not a lot of it is there still. But what you can see is but the top of it. His work was macabre and unsettling in a way that no one would really buy his works. So eventually he became destitute, and the story goes that in his despair he did in fact drown himself in the lake that is on the chateau lands. And good riddance as well, for he did make ungodly sculptures.
I took a darker turn.
His descendants have occasionally dabbled with establishing themselves in the chateau again, but well, Gabriel did quite smear the place with his fetid nature, so
These sculptures last to this day.
well, some of them are in the gardens. You will have seen the frogs with teeth.
Aye.
You will have aye.
Oh, we.
Yar, yar. I've seen the silkies. Aye. You've seen the fish.
It's
with feet.
Espanol.
Si, senor.
Dankeschön.
Cycling through.
Just think, yeah.
They say that sometimes not Charbonneau himself, for no doubt he resides in hell presently, but they say that whatever ill presence acted as his muse walks the cliff's edges and the shores at night, wearing the guise of a red-headed woman, beguiling those foolish enough to wander about at night.
A land siren. I see. Have there been many deaths in this chateau since his drowning? Did it have a sordid history through time?
Well, us all being wise folk around here, we do avoid the chateau grounds. Now, I couldn't speak to Charbonneau family affairs. They take care of their own, and we do the same. We don't really associate with those people. When they turn around. They haven't in a long time.
I can see why we got free tickets to this place. Nobody wants to go.
To be quite fair, you Americans are silly. It is a haunted place. If not with the dead, as Charbonneau no doubt is in hell, it is haunted by the folly of man and the striving of diseased souls such as Charbonneau and their imaginings.
I'd be interested to see these statues. The fanciful tale, of course.
Ay, caramba.
And that's where we're going to end. Okay. So no.
So,
John broke himself there.
we know there's something gribbly going on. We know there's something gribbly is making people aggressive and go mental and kill people.
Well, I'd say we know more than that. We know the cliffs are haunted.
I thought the first incident was just sea madness.
Yeah.
Sadness.
Yeah.
We've got this story about a red-headed woman walking on the beach at night. We've got this guy that died years ago with his freaky statues who drowned himself in the lake, and it sounds like most of his descendants that have tried to live here have also died.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want to investigate? Because
Well,
I don't think this is a good scenario to be splitting the party.
Well, at this point, I'd like to say, obviously, in character, Caesar Lewis wants to get away from this stuff. That's partly why he's leaving. However, according to my imperiled move, dark forces are specifically after me. So I'd like to suggest that although, like, in character, I'm trying to avoid it, perhaps something might happen that sort of like draws me into it, or...
And I have stuff in the wings for that kind of thing. And of course, Caesar knows that you might have escaped the mundane arm of the law, that it was after you, but you know for a fact that there is something you cannot fully escape, and that is going to be upon us.
I also think as well, I'll have been quite surprised in character, because I don't know you're a psychic, presumably you've never really mentioned it. Obviously, I know the captain's a bit of a salty sea dog, so he's got like his sea tails and whatever. And, he's been telling us like who lives in a pineapple under the sea and stuff like that. But
by this point, I think I would have told you that I'd have given you the same spiel that I gave that guy before, that it's not a spiritualist thing. I just help people find out whether they're haunted or not. But I have found places that are haunted.
So I think at some point we'd have sat down and I'll have said, look, out of all the people that are still in the chateau, we're probably like the 3 people who are maybe going to take this a little bit seriously. Because I'm sure pretty much everyone else would have been like, it's just some local superstition or some tomfoolery or whatever. Just old tales. Whereas we're like the 3 who are likely to go, yeah, maybe it's just old tales, but, sometimes these tales, there's a little bit of something behind them. So I'm going to say, look, the way I see it is we know where this presence is supposed to be. It's either by the lake or on the cliffs. So the way I see it, we either stake out those, like it says it's mainly at night, we either stake out those locations, see if we see anything, or we forget the whole thing, we move on like some of the other people, or we just try and like stay inside the chateau and like keep our heads down. But
so
look,
staking out the locations, how far apart are the 2 locations? Would we be able to signal one another easily from them with, say,
I would say yeah.
light?
I would say yeah.
But best believe if I get attacked by anything, there's going to be an extremely loud signal.
Okay.
I'll give you the signal. It'll be the sound of a shotgun going off and someone screaming.
And which of those 2 locations would you prefer to be?
I'd do the cliffs, aye.
Closer to the sea.
Close to the sea.
Right, well, I would suggest that either myself or the captain goes to one of the locations, and that yourself and the other person goes to the other location.
Well, the captain's already said he's going to the cliff.
Right,
I fall into the water, I stand more chance of being able to swim. I don't die.
I suggest me and you stake out the lake then.
Okay, so we'll go stake out the lake, and we'll make sure we've each got a lantern and that we've got a signal arranged for I'm still here and I'm awake and there's something going down, get over here.
Could I get a flare gun, Cosmic Master, or is that too fanciful?
You could probably buy one in Caracera.
Yeah, I'll buy a flare gun.
Yeah, 1 money. You can get a flare gun. No
Like
problem.
money?
They'll have that.
And
I used to
obviously,
speak Portuguese. So do I.
and obviously, I've got like myself like maglite or whatever the equivalent is, some sort of like powerful torch. So I'll use the torch to like do a signal. And I'll sort of like I'll flash every like half hour or whatever. I'll flash the torch like 3 times to let you know everything's okay, and we'll make sure during the day we can like see each other from the positions we're in.
I'm also going to pick up like some nice rum, and I'm going to pick up a local variety of cigars. A brand, the Chateau souvenir case.
Yeah, the Charbonneau cigars.
The Charbonneau Cavignon.
Yeah.
So the idea is you're going to stake out the cliffs where the mansion is, and the lake, which is on the mansion grounds.
And I like to think that, like, whereas I've been like quite sort of sly about like keeping my shotgun in like my quarters and whatever, now I'm like, we're going to stake out a lake where there's potentially like an evil presence. Like, that like subtlety cap is like off, I would just have a shotgun and like a big like not like butcher knife like strapped to my leg, because I'm like, I'll bet if anything comes out of that lake and I don't like the look of it, it's getting it.
So, how long are we talking? The stakeout. When do you start? When do you end?
I would say we'll probably start when it's trying to get dark, when it's just starting to get dark, and then we'll probably finish just after it gets light. And then if we need to repeat it on the following nights, we can sleep a bit during the day. We're on holiday, who's going to say anything? And then we can like repeat for a few days if we need to. And after a few days, if nothing's happening, we can be like, oh, maybe it's just tall tales. Yeah.
Right. So
I'll make up some excuse about stargazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No. And
for the other people, that's why we're out all night, because
Yep.
the light's amazing here.
I was better. Mike's just going to be like, mind your business.
I would like for y'all to, let's see, what are we doing? Okay. So, first night, not much goes on. Now, at the lake, you note that there's a statue there that you didn't quite see. There's some trees as well. So no one pointed it out to you.
Is the statue in the lake, or is it like on the bank?
It is in fact on the lake, yeah, but not really submerged. There's a bit of rock that stands out from the lake, so the statue's been put on that. And the statue is of a woman, sort of with water themes. So it is, and in fact you can see in French, which the captain has translated for you afterwards. When you told him what it said, there's in French "The Lady of the Lake" written on the pedestal. And
is there anything? Because they said like the statuary that this guy had made was often like quite grotesque or sort of like strange. If we have like a close look at it, are there any like odd details we wouldn't expect to see in like a typical statue of this variety?
Yeah. So eventually you start noticing things that are kind of off. It's a woman with sort of like flowy dress type outfit, but there's some like the details are kind of weird and wrong. Her eyes, when you sort of move around a little bit, you've come to realize that the eyes are kind of they're set out in such a way that
bulging out.
Yeah, they're kind of bulging out in the way that, he's kind of masterfully set in some kind of maybe polished crystal or glass or something into the eyes, so that they kind of seem to be on you a lot of the time, but they're kind of bulging out as well. And you notice that there's clearly her one hand has fingers which don't really have joints in them. They're just kind of flowy,
like
meat
tendrils.
Tendrils almost. And it's like it takes you a bit, and from a distance, there's nothing wrong with that. But you get closer, and you start noticing like, oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. And you notice that when the dress sort of flows along her body, you stare at it long enough, and you figure, yeah, the one leg is fine. Like it seems like a human leg from the way that the dress falls down, but the other one clearly is not. There's no human leg on the other side that she's standing on, and there's details that are wrong with that, but yeah.
Okay, so when we realised that, and obviously like you said, like the first day nothing's happened, and we looked at it during the day, when we all sort of like meet up afterwards to like, oh, did anything happen, etc., we'll describe this statue and these details we saw on it. And between like the captain's like knowledge of the sea, the sort of spiritualist sort of occult knowledge of Miss Green, and obviously like what I've experienced, basically I'm thinking like put our heads together, see if as a group we can like puzzle out like, does this statue refer to a specific legend? Is it anything we've heard of? That sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, that does sound like a puzzle things out.
Sweet. You can get assistance, can't you?
Yeah, you can help. So if December and the captain want to help...
Now, I would like to suggest that I am not the person to be doing this puzzling out. Because
Nor am I, really. I am not very...
Captain, what be your reason, Scar? Be it high or be it low, it be you then making this roll. And I'm going to suggest that we both make a roll to try and help. So I'm going to try and make a help roll. So I'm going to roll plus 2 for my trust for you.
Yeah.
Pull some things out. All right, I'm gonna. Huh. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so that's a 6, 7, 8 for me. So I can give you like a +1 help.
Yeah, and then
What did you get?
is December helping?
I've rolled a 5. What am I adding to it?
You add your trust to the captain.
Oh, 2, so that's a 7.
So you get another +1, so you're getting +2 altogether.
That brings me to a 10 for yours.
Okay, make your choice. Ask 3 or gain 1 lore. I will highlight that lore is in fact supernatural knowledge or insight or something like that.
Ooh.
And you also get the point for it, of course. But...
We need information, though, don't we? That's the thing.
Yeah, if it comes down to lore, don't worry about that. I'm riddled with lore. I've got more lore than your body has room for.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Who's in control here, I guess, would be one question.
This is something that does quite reveal a lot. So, you spent a day at the cliffs and at the lake. You haven't really seen anything. Like, you've seen the statue, of course, which is unusual, and you don't know why a person would do that if they could make a a non-horrible statue. But then grotesquerie is an acquired taste for a lot of people, but innate in some. And the fact remains, though, that you haven't really seen anything truly strange, unexplainable in that regard. Who's in control here is there is the true answer, I guess, would be most apparent to the captain, especially when Caesar and December come back and say, there's a lake, there is a statue, it is unusual, and the lake seems a bit creepy, especially at night, which is, I guess, the entirety of the point.
Maybe there's something under the statue.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a...
You've been closer to the chateau itself, and you figure out, with their help, their assistance here, that who's in control here is the general spirit of unease that has plagued you since the psychotic episode of Belle Ward in the ship.
Since a young lad stabbing.
Yeah. So there's who's in control here is kind of nobody, because it's tension. Tension is in control here.
But it has followed us.
No people are in control right now.
Nothing natural.
So the general sense of unease. And
Yeah, unease and
oppression.
dissension, and some oppressive, bad feeling. No people. People don't have control, which that tells you something as well. No human person is in control of what happens here
Right, okay.
currently.
What should I keep my eye out for?
More violence.
Okay. Okay. How does X fit into Y? I'm guessing that's how does the statue fit into the grander scheme of things?
It has nothing to do with what's going on.
Oh.
And all these statements are true. The way that the logic of the rules work here is I give you true answers.
Always.
So all of this is true, what I've just said. No human is in control. Want you to keep an eye out for more violence. And how does
Violence
the
is
statue
coming
fit?
on an ill wind.
How does the statue fit into this? It doesn't. it has nothing to do with this.
It's red herring, essentially. It's nothing.
That's what you figure out. Yes.
Yeah, so the statue... So it's either the cliff, like where I was. I didn't see anything on the cliff.
No. It's a cliff. No.
Of Spanish Dover. No, I didn't. Yeah. So, it's either something else that's here or something hidden.
Maybe this general sort of this oppressive feeling. I mean, they talked about how this sculptor, this Charbonneau, well, when he sort of came here, he started doing these strange sculptures and whatever. Maybe it's this general sort of ill atmosphere that you're talking about, Captain, that sort of plays on the minds of people who stay here. And maybe, like you said, you've got a feeling there's going to be more violence. Perhaps it's this sort of atmosphere. Maybe it influences people or sort of makes them act on their sort of darker impulses.
Maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, young lad. Maybe one of the people that came with us has brought this darkness with them.
Well, there was that...
And the chateau is just an amplification. It just helps facilitate that darkness.
Well, there was the crazy woman on board the ship, so...
The one that shivved you.
That's right, that one.
She was still here. Is she still with us?
They have her in Carcera, the local constabulary.
Hopefully, in a police station.
Yeah. She's in.
My instincts would be it was somebody else, because the person driven to the violence may not be the one who's creating it. What about that guy? The Chancellor, the guy who came with us from.
Oh, Mr. Wood.
Leslie Wood.
Didn't December Green say he was having troublesome dreams?
He's certainly been affected by something, and I don't know whether would he have claimed his notebook back from me, or would I still have it?
You'll have it. No, he's beyond remembering that stuff.
Yeah, I thought he probably would be.
Is there anything
Has
in there
everyone
that ties into
died?
Yeah, I will show the notebook to the captain, pointing out that while I couldn't understand a lot of it, there might be something in there that he, with his skill with languages, may be able to find.
I'll get out some really small reading glasses, pop them on. So, get on a bit.
Okay, are you trying to puzzle things out based on the notebook?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Come on.
Roll plus reason.
11. No, actually, no, that's 13.
Yeah, it doesn't go that far.
Got off the charts.
You've reached cosmic understanding. Now, you can ask 3 questions or gain 1 lore. Again, I will highlight 1 lore is supernatural understanding. Questions are these that you can have here.
So if I gain 1 lore, do I actually learn anything, though? Or
Yes,
do I...
yes. I will give you...
It's basically a little plot dump.
I will take the lore.
The game calls it dark insight.
I'll take my dark insight. The ravings of a madman. Yeah, I'll take the law. Give me the law. Give me the law.
So you can have your you can have
Give me the law. Show me the law. You want the law? You can. I know the law.
So, as you're reading it, you realize that you're reading it aloud in your head for a little bit as you're studying the scribblings. But eventually you realize that the voice in your head isn't your own. It's some other voice.
Is it in a different language? Because I know it.
Yeah, in I guess it would like pick words from languages that you know, and it's always like kill her.
Was that
Suffocate him.
Do it.
As you read these
Speak
words
up.
from So you start hearing your own voice change inside your head as you're reading this, and it's some other voice now telling you to murder.
That's the best reaction ever. You hear a voice telling you to murder.
Got a brain check on that.
Can we reschedule?
Couldn't I write a strongly worded note?
I could, I'm getting, just like a fine word, I'm getting notes of homicide, egomania.
I'm getting a psychotic break.
Yeah, just a whiff of, demonic forces. December, this is definitely the ravings of a mad individual. The chance, he's not of sound mind. He should be, he should not be walking around in polite society, or even in vulgar society. These things are compulsions to hurt and rend and maim.
I don't think he's so much a violent individual as an individual through which some violent force is being channeled. Perhaps even the same could be said of the girl that stabbed you. When I met her on the first day of the voyage, she seemed quite amiable.
Yeah, it was a crime of passion. She didn't stab you like.
I've got to admit, up until the point she actually stabbed me, she seemed completely in control of herself. But obviously, we know that she'd disemboweled that poor wretch in the.
And I believe the same force is probably what was acting on other people on the ship.
Well, the thing is, if the
how have the people that have remained behind, how have they been with each other?
Tense.
Yeah.
There's been close calls.
The thing is, if that's the case, and this force, whatever it is you're saying, Miss Green, is acting through, then surely it can't be connected with the chateau because it was acting on board the ship. Now, the only person we know who was initially being affected on the ship, and it seems to have spread out from them, is Mr. Wood.
Well,
indeed,
maybe young lad, young Caesar. Perhaps one of the people, one of the guests, maybe it's one of the members who own this place. Maybe there is a connection on the list.
Well, what I would suggest is we do a couple of things. We examine the passenger list, looking for anything that sticks out to us. I would also suggest we speak to the people who are remaining. You said that Mr. Wood was having trouble sleeping, and that's when he wrote down these ravings. Perhaps if we find out whether any other of the passengers who remain behind have been having trouble sleeping, that might be a place to start.
Yeah. Well, we've been up all night. Is everybody else or not?
I'd say there's some people who do spend a bunch of time up at night, and you can tell that by the lights.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suggest what we do is we all attempt to get a bit of sleep, and then we sort of get up early afternoon. We can then go and speak to the rest of the passengers who are still about, find out if any of them have been having strange dreams or trouble sleeping, maybe sort of gauge how widespread the effect of this thing is. Perhaps you could check in on Mr. Wood as well, see how he's doing.
Yeah. There's a plan for the next couple of scenes.
And I'll basically sort of like, when you're talking to Mr. Wood, like, me and the captain are going to be not involved in that questioning because we want him to be at ease, but we're going to be nearby so like you can give us like the whistle if like he suddenly develops homicidal tendencies.
I'm going to have a cigar and I'm going to saunter down to the telegram station, whistling a nice sea shanty, and I'm going to send a message to my boys in blue on the my boat, and just let them know that some shenanigans are going down in this town, just to come into port, just in case I need to make a
exfiltrate.
I need to extraction.
I love the thought of you getting on the telegram and like, shenanigans going down in town. Stop.
Yep. Make sure you're having your vitamins, boys.
There's too much panic in this town. So, the next thing would be to you guys all go to sleep. Is that it?
Yeah, get a few hours sleep and then get up early afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So
obviously, I got to drink at least a bottle before I go
Yeah,
to
I
sleep.
mean,
That's just normal now.
you need to sleep. Yeah. So we jump into the afternoon, and you're trying to waylay Mr. Wood to have a discussion with him, and you managed to do that. And I think this is in the kitchen. So Caesar and the captain are loitering nearby, and you've learned some factoids. So you woke up late in the afternoon. Mr. Wood has been up for a bunch of time, more than you have, and he has let you know that in that time he sent one of these guest couples that were there to Carrocera to just go back because they were a married couple, and during the night they beat each other senseless, and he can't really have that here, so he sent them away. And then after he was done with that, the cook had the temerity to question his choices when it came to the suggestions for the today's dinner, and he had an altercation with the cook, and the cook had to go away as well, seeking some medical assistance. So
While he's telling me this, almost as soon as he tells me that the cook is gone, because we're in the kitchen, I will start taking stock of what food there is and start preparing a meal. I'm not going to ask him anything about that. I'm just going to start doing it. Okay. And I want to be reading him. I want to maybe make him a cup of tea while he's having this rant about the shit day he's just had. Read a person, which I get something on. I get an extra question on, so I've rolled 6, that's an 8.
Okay.
And so I get an extra question.
So you get 2 questions total.
Yeah. So, first up, I think I want to know, is he telling the truth about where these people have gone? Have they actually left as he sent them away, or has he done something nasty with them?
Yeah, no, he's done something nasty. You come to learn that he caused the cook to have to seek medical aid because he threw a fit over the dinner plans. So he messed up the cook, and he sent away the couple that were beating each other during the night.
Right.
And so he's truthful about that, yes.
Okay, yeah. How could I get your character to X? How could I get your character to tell me the thing you're not telling me? Because I'm pretty sure you still know more than you do.
So, I guess relating something similar to him, because he has just had the past 12 hours for him have been violence. It's been the couple having a bro to the point where he's just like, no, you need to go. Someone's gonna get hurt, and you did already.
So,
and then he fucked up the cook. So he's kind of, again, I guess this is a running thing with him. He's looking for you to give him.
Yeah. So in which case, I will remind him of our conversation on the ship, and that I have got experience with these sort of darker things, and that although I've looked at mundane explanations, I think perhaps that might be the sort of thing that's going on here. And as when I was talking to these guys about it, I was talking about effectively some sort of spirit of violence. I'll describe it in that way, and something that's affecting him, that's corrupting him, that he's fought it longer than anyone else and he's been really brave, but he needs to like clue
Get
us
real.
in on what he doesn't know, or we're not going to be able to fight it.
So he breaks down completely, and it takes him like a half an hour to pull himself back up. And
I'll just carry on quietly making food till he's ready
Yeah.
to talk.
and he's just like weeping into his hands, which you still know, like he's got blood on his fingernails, like he's trying to scrub it off, but he's just weeping into his hands, and he's just whimpering something about like he's always angry and he always wants to hit someone, and he's really sorry, Mrs. Green, but he really wants to stab you right now, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's gonna stab himself soon because he doesn't want to stab you. And he's sort of like, you know, as you're
I'll
like, oh,
tell
I'm
him
gonna
that that's all right, and that he's not to worry about that. But I will also make sure that there are no knives or anything else within reach of him on that table.
Yeah, so things just like move away.
And I will make sure I don't get within arm's reach of him when handing him a cup of tea or whatever.
Yeah. And he just goes on about the most recent experiences he's had. So, like with the cooks, he's like, it's just he's just pissed me off so much, and I wanted to stab him, but I used the ladle to I think I might have broken his wrist, and and then the couple, and I wanted to use the fireplace poker, and he just goes on about like these violent fantasies that he's had about everyone.
See, if this was like a Hammer horror movie, then he would turn out to be a descendant of this Gabriel Charbonneau guy. And the best
Still
solution for him is to just burn the building down. But something about this like red-headed muse thing I'm just gonna risk it and ask him about the red-headed woman, just like when he's finished one of his rants. And what about the red-headed woman?
I think he's just like, what? I don't think none of the guests are like redheaded. I would have thought about that. And he's just sort of like he's like baffled about that, and he's trying to think of something, and one of the other guests happens to walk by, and just offhandedly just coming to the kitchen, like I don't know, there's probably what would there be? Because maybe there's some apples that grow in the ground, so you've got some fresh apples there, and this generated name, so. So, this guest gentleman is called Lucian Hardy. And he comes by, and he's dressed up nicely, you know, slacks, vest, white collar suit, like dress shirt rather, and comes by and says, "How are we doing?" And takes an apple.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Hardy. It seems the cook's been taken ill. Terrible business. As you can see, Mr. Wood's rather upset about it. Perhaps if you were to go out onto the veranda, I might be able to get some tea out there for you. Read the room,
wonderful.
dickhead.
You're working for the Chamber of Commerce now, is it, Mrs. Green?
No, darling, I'm just trying to help out.
He looks at you. He looks at the shambling wreck of a person that Mr. Wood has become, and just sort of smiles a little bit, and sort of shrugs at you, and walks to the veranda, taking a bite of the apple.
I'll stick the kettle on. If I remember him, I'll take him some tea in a bit. But I want to make sure that one of these guys is in here to watch the crazy dude first. So I might shout one of them to come and give me a hand with peeling potatoes or something.
Potatoes, my speciality.
Aye, the sea potatoes.
Aye.
Sea potatoes.
I can peel a potato like no man.
The captain comes in, I'll tell Mr. Wood that the captain understands some of what's going on as well and would also like to help.
I think at this point, if the captain, you're there and this is pointed out to Wood, he's just gonna like put a hand on your shoulders, like, "What's happening to me, Captain?" He's falling to pieces right now. He's barely holding on.
I'm assuming you two have both been basically listening at the door anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you'd be more comfortable remaining listening at the door.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the point where like the door needs to be kicked in and it needs to be wasted with a shotgun.
Yeah, I thought you might be.
The time is nigh.
Yeah. I know.
To be honest, I like to think that when we were out there, like when he got to the bit where he's like, "Oh, I'm fighting the urge to stab you now," I was probably like raising the shotgun, like, oh, it's about to go down. And when I say it, I mean him. And then like when I heard you sort of like moving stuff around, like the captain was maybe like, "Oh, hold on a second," when we've sort of held off, but we were like getting ready to like burst through the door if it like kicked off. But yeah, I'm staying outside, like shotgun down by my side, sort of like up against the wall so people can't see it. It's down by my leg, but I'm sort of like one ear listening.
I'm guessing that the awkward moments bought us at least 20 minutes before any of the other guests come in, because he's going to say to the rest of them, "I wouldn't go in there." Yeah.
So the captain has come in. Wood is latched onto him. You're sort of taking stock of the situation, December, and outside, Caesar, you're listening in at the door, and sort of like it's a weird familiar sense that you're like your tension is super high.
Yeah.
But this is where you were before, when things were still going according to your plan. It was still a terrible time because you understand part of what is truly wrong with this world. But this is where you used to live. This like high tension, like tight as a string.
See, I like to think at the minute I'm like, oh, I can see what Miss Green and like the captain are trying to do. You know, they're trying to resolve it all peacefully, but like I know how these things end.
And as you think this, as you're like bless them, like they're trying, they're really trying. And as you think these things, you hear from behind you in the sort of dining hall, it's like, "Caesar."
I'll put it like my head will like snap round, like looking in like the direction of the dining hall, see if I can see who's like, "Oh God."
There's no one there that you can see.
I'll probably have like a bit of a wander over just to like have a quick look around, because obviously I've heard the conversation with them where it's like, "Oh, I keep hearing these voices and whatever," and obviously presumably the captain was like, "Oh yeah, I can hear these voices," so I'm half thinking it's that, but I'm like, I don't know, so I've got to go and have a quick check just to make sure it's not someone actually calling my name. But I'll go and have a quick look around, and if I don't see anyone, I'll return to my position listening. So I don't want to leave the captain alone too long with this like crazy man.
Okay, I've got a potato peeler.
That's exactly what
I'm going to whittle him down.
So, in the dining room, there is indeed a large silver-backed mirror, and you catch a glance of yourself in there, and you look like you did when the authorities got you the last time.
Right,
So
I understand.
your clothing, all kinds of messed up, blood everywhere, yours and other people's, and more besides. And so your reflection is like, "Caesar," as you sort of catch a glimpse of it.
I like to think I'm gonna sort of say like, I know I know from previous, I know there's no point in trying to run from this stuff because like I probably tried that last time and I know what happened. So, and I'm basically like, it's a mirror. Worst case scenario, I'm going to knock the mirror over and be like, whoops, I broke the mirror. So I'm going to walk up, not say anything because obviously people will think I'm a crazy person. I know where that leads. So I'm going to walk up to the mirror and I'm just going to be like full ball, like staring at my reflection, giving it the stink eye.
Your reflection smiles at you and says, "How long do you think it'll take this time, Caesar? Before we do what we do best? The old man's going to break soon. Well, he's kind of broken already. But he's very limited in what he can do. You can do so much more, Caesar. We know that from the last time."
Now, this mirror, is it one of those on like a pivot that you can like turn round, or is it just like a flat?
It's a big flat thing on the wall with, you know, the carved wooden edges hung up on the wall.
Yeah, I like to think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick something up. I don't know, something that's long that I can like throw over my shoulder, and then sort of I don't know, like a fucking ladle or like a pull cue or whatever it's about, something long.
Fire poker.
Yeah, fire poker. And I'm going to go as like, oh, I'm just going to do the fire. And I'll like throw it over my shoulder accidentally on purpose, but like near to the mirror. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go and stoke the... Oh, 7 years bad luck. Oh, I'm really sorry. Like, didn't mean to... And smash the mirror.
There's a voice that all of you can hear now, and you can tell that the other people can as well, which is this like distant laughter that just like starts like low and just like rumbles away in the distance like ominous thunder, but it's laughter, like a deep bass laughter.
Then just to like carry through with the fiction of like, oh, I was going to stoke the fire, I'm going to go and stoke the fire, and then sort of still with the poker in my hand, but just how careless is, I forgot I'm holding it. I'm just going to like stick my head into the kitchen where the captain and Mr. Wood are talking, and I'll be like, oh, I'm really sorry. I went to stoke the fire. I've accidentally broke the mirror in the other room. Obviously, like, I'll write you out a check for it when we get back to land. We'll have fuck. But but yeah, I'm really sorry. Sorry to interrupt you, fellas. I just want to
being
let you
as
know.
we can all hear this ominous laughter now, I don't think anybody really cares about
I'm just trying to ignore the ominous laughter.
Make it till they make it.
Yeah. Why do you think I'm still holding this fire poker?
Yeah, the Mr. Wood looks like he's like the string has finally frayed enough, and he's just sort of.
That's also why I went to look in there, because it was like the old man will break soon. And I'm like, the captain's in there. If he breaks soon, he's getting this fire poker in his face.
But he's he looks vacant, like the Mr. Wood has left the building, so to speak. Captain, you can tell
gonna
us.
step back. I see now why Caesar had to be here, and it's shit, but I've got to let it happen. Take cover if necessary.
Yeah, so since like the captain's the nearest person to him, I'm going to be like, I'm basically just to give him an excuse. I'm going to be like, oh, Captain, could you help me clear up the broken bits of mirror so that no one hurts themselves on it? And I'm going to give him like the...
Boss. I can help with that.
And as he gets close to me, I'm going to sort of like put a hand on his like arm as though I'm like, oh, the captain's a bit drunk again, you know, fucking take him to the room. And I'm going to sort of like lean in close to his ear, possibly so like if you're near enough so you can hear as well. And I'm going to be like, look, whatever this thing is, it's got into the old fella there, and I'll like juke my head at Mr. Wood like he's going to like go like the woman did soon. I don't know what it is, I don't know exactly what it wants, but he's next on the list.
You hear from outside where Mr. Hardy went. It's like, say, you have a knife there for carving an apple? Toss me a knife.
I'll
pick the bluntest ass knife I can find.
This is a spoon.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's a rolling pin.
Like, pick you know those like butter knives or like palette knives where they're just rounded. Like, I'm just going to pick one of them and like hand it to you to like hand to him because I ain't giving him anything sharp.
Yeah, I'll tell him that I'll bring him a tray out in a minute. Just go and sit on the veranda. Fucking read
Righto.
the room, dickhead!
Righto, you hear from outside.
Who else is on this list, boy?
I say, look, I don't know. All I know is that he and I gesture at Wood again with my head. All I know is like he's next. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but I've experienced something like this before, and I know how it ends, and it's not pleasant. It's going to make what happened in that room back on the boat look like a picnic.
Mr. Wood, can you hear any of this?
He's just it seems to be catatonic. He's not really responding.
Captain, I believe when sailors go mad on ship, it's traditional to tie them up and lock them in their quarters.
Well, we tend to slap them first, but aye.
I'm probably thinking, oh, Joe, I could go for a life at sea.
He's probably safer tied up.
I might see if I can sign on to the captain's crew after like this is finished.
Ooh, you're definitely the right archetype. But are you loyal?
We slap a man soon as look at him.
If there's any rope or something nearby, I'll tie him up, sure.
We're in a kitchen. There's probably like butcher's string or yeah.
Cling film.
Yeah.
That's not
Not in the
invented yet.
1920s, mate.
Yeah. So you
I'm going to be close and keeping an eye on him because if he starts to like flip while he's being tied up.
Yeah, I'm hoping
get
you two
subdued.
can restrain him to the point where he's no longer dangerous.
Keep
I
an eye
don't
on
think
him.
that's actually going to happen.
He's going to get subdued with prejudice if he does start
If
flipping out while the captain's
if
tied him.
something malignant is abreast in this place, keep an eye on him for a second, boy. I'm going to go
This
to
is
my
that
room.
moment
I think
in
we're
the
long
horror
past-
movie
we're long
where
past
the
it,
guy goes
Captain.
from being like to
Any second now. I'm going to go back to my room. It would be a few minutes away, right? I'm going to engage the kind of run trigger, like Resident Evil run.
So what are you doing? You're running to your room?
I'm going back to my room because I've run out of cigars for a start. I need more. This is the situation. I've got to stay on point. And I'm going to get my sidearm, and I'm going to.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't really carry around my sidearm just when I'm on holiday.
So you run into the residential corridor, and
Obviously, this is where I die. This is the
yeah, I
moment.
mean, there's a stench that greets you.
In my room?
No, in the corridor.
Okay, thank God. I thought I should have opened a window.
No.
It's the beans, lad. The beans.
So there's the two other guests that still remain, aside from Mr. Hardy and yourselves, that you see sat in a room, one of theirs, with the door open. And it does quite look like they've stabbed each other with sharp implements that you can't quite see what they are because there's a lot of blood on there.
Are they clearly dead?
They're dead. They're motionless on the floor.
Okay.
And you
You take a handkerchief out of my pocket, and just grab the doorknob and close the door.
Yep. Okay. Close the door.
Okay. Yep. I'm gonna need that gun now.
So you get to your room, and you get the gun.
Yep.
You get the cigars.
Yep.
And as you're rummaging in your room, there's a noise at the door, and it's one of the staff. I think it's from the ship because they were talking about bringing some.
I'm gonna check my gun's loaded.
Yeah. So you're checking your gun is loaded. There's one of these staff members at the door, and
You're right there with you.
it's like, Mr. Hardy, says the staff member to you. with a question mark at the end.
Yeah, come in. Okay, make sure. Go grab some matches as well. I should play one of those chateau places or hotels where they have like a branded match pack. With the chateau on it or something. I'll grab that. Freebies.
It's weird that they've asked for Mr. Hardy though, because you're not Mr. Hardy.
Are you in your room?
Yeah.
True, they should.
You know what? I didn't pick up on that because I was so fixated on getting those cigars.
Well, they are nice.
Yeah.
So, I imagine because you said like I'll be with you soon. You closed your door, or at least like put it like a.
Oh, I've closed the door and locked it. Yeah, when I went in there because I was.
So when you went in, yeah, okay. So yeah, you know that the staff member is outside and you're in there. Your thing is loaded. What do you do?
Right. So I'll have the gun out, and just as I'll open the door with one hand and have the gun just like. No one's gonna shank this sea captain. Well, he's got strength in his bones. Can I help you?
So explain again what you do. You go to the door. You opening it or?
Yeah, so I'm opening it with one hand, but I've got the gun kind of flat to the door. They can't see as I'm opening it.
Yeah.
So if you try anything funny, I can just.
So there's a staff member there with nice the kind of uniforms they had on the ship, but they don't have eyes or ears. Someone's cut them off. And
Okay, that's just saying.
They're pawing at the door with bloody hands. I was like, Mr. Hardy, terribly sorry. Why did you take my eyes?
I think you got the wrong room, lad. 3 doors down.
Thank you. Continues to whimper and just like fumbles around in the corridor.
I hope those boyos are coming into port soon. It's going to be a swift. I'm going to head back to the. Obviously, this is very disturbing.
Yes.
But
is there some sort of shock roll required?
So
I am steadfast, you see, though. So I've seen some. I've maybe not seen this much in one night, but I've seen a few things.
There's a couple of things here now for our good captain. As well as when you get into the corridor with him, because he's just like fumbling around there. You hear yourself say to yourself in your head, it's like, put him out of his misery. He's suffered enough.
This one sharp crack to the back of the skull with this gun would do. No.
That's act under pressure then. So roll plus reason.
Okay. Oh boy, that's not the best of my rolls. That's 6 total.
Okay. Do you get any other additional stuff?
That was my total with all my additional things.
Okay. So what will happen is
for anything for a boost.
Only if you've
got
a
a
move
law move that lets you do it.
Yeah. So
I can use my law move, unflinching.
What is that?
Unflinching, you're used to stressful situations carrying on where others collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. When you act under pressure, you may spend a point of law to turn a partial success into a full success, or a failure into a partial success.
Okay, so will you do that then?
I think the answer to that is yes.
Okay. So you take 3 stress. So mark down 3.
Does my armor do anything with stress?
No,
or
armor. No, that's getting shot at. This is mind bullets.
So stress is sanity.
Yes.
So I am now disturbed. Okay.
Quite right. And for your next roll, you're at -1.
Oh, but I have steadfast, so I take 1 less shock whenever I take shock. Is that count here?
So that's 2 then.
Yeah. I am shocked, guys.
And -1 to your next roll.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you leave the fumbling staff member in the hallway? And you hurry away?
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, I don't want to be on this list. I don't want to be in the chateau. I don't care. It was free. The sea bass wasn't even that good.
This is not getting a good Yelp review.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you get back to I suppose Caesar and December in the kitchen.
I like think I'll just see the look on the captain's face and I'll be like, what happened?
You've seen this before.
Yeah, because I'm like, I know that look. I've worn that. I invented that look. What happened?
Are we secure here? Are we?
Look, while we're in this place, we're not secure anywhere, but we're as secure as we're going to be.
I just passed a lovely couple's rooms on the way back to mine to pick up this trusty old sidearm, and they'd stabbed each other quite aggressively to death, almost like a spit roast, but without the veg. And then after retrieving my sidearm, which I got in the wall, by the way, a selection of the crew from the ship that we arrived here with were fumbling around in the corridor without their eyes and their ears as well, if I'm correct, Cosmic Master.
Mm-hmm.
They'd been sliced off cleanly, but they were still bleeding everywhere.
Did they say anything?
Like maybe that Mr. Harvey did it?
Yeah, they mentioned a Mr. Harvey, yeah.
He's out on the veranda waiting for us to take him a knife to cut his apple with.
I think maybe I'll take him a fire poker instead. I'll say, get him.
I suggest we deny him such instrument of doom.
Mm-hmm.
I think perhaps we should vacate the premises.
I'm already heading out to the veranda.
I did promise him some tea. And I'll hand you a tray and put a teacup on it. And yeah, you'll be able to tuck your fire poker under that tray and get quite close before he sees you.
Well, manners are important, Caesar.
Yeah, so I'm gonna walk out to him on the veranda. I'll obviously make sure he's not like shanking anyone on the veranda when I get out there.
Yep.
Then sorry, go ahead.
You leave. You go to the veranda with your bearings, and indeed you see Mr. Hardy there. He's sat on a chair. There's a small table, and he's biting away at this apple. There's no shanked corpses or anything. And while you walk, contemplating your sequence of movements for the next couple of seconds, you hear the same voice from the mirror again. It's like, yes, Caesar. We should like to see his brains on the veranda. Do it.
I'm just gonna keep going, like ignoring the like Palpatine voice in my head, and I'm just gonna walk over to him. Sort of like I'll put the teacup on the table, so I'm still holding the tray. Sort of move it down a little bit, poker concealed underneath, sort of resting it on my hand, and I'll say, "Oh, Miss Green asked me to bring you out some tea."
Kill him, Caesar. I said that the old man is going to break soon. This man took no effort at all. He was a terrible person before I did this.
See, I think the voice is probably because up until that point, like, I was thinking, yeah, we should probably like deal with this fella because he's like lost his marbles. But when it's like, no, he's a bad person, do it. I'm like, really? I'm gonna like criticize someone for being a bad person because I know that I got thrown in jail with like flimsiest of rationales because I looked like a bad person. He's clearly being like controlled by this voice, and it's doing the same number on him as it's doing on me. I can't really say he's a bad person just because he's like weaker-willed. So,
and as if like you're thinking this, and the voice in your head goes, "Whatever your rationale is, not really important, Caesar. You know what happens if he walks. There's going to be a very dead farmer family somewhere out here. He's going to make it last. I didn't even have to ask him to make it last. He actually invented his own method. It was bad.
While the voice is talking, what is he actually doing?
He's if you laid the tray down there.
Well, I've not put the tray down. I'm still holding the tray, but
So
I'll put the cup of tea down for him.
Yeah, he's taking down. Oh, like puts the half-eaten apple on the table, and it's like, oh, it just takes his small handkerchief and is wiping the apple juice off his hands. I was like,
I'm going to say, again, just because I'm trying to prolong the conversation, see how it lasts, I'll be like, with some like my free hand now, I'm going to sort of like reach inside my jacket where I've got like the remnants of the bottle of bourbon from like last night, and I'm going to be like, oh, I've always found the tea to be a little weak in this area, if you know what I mean. And I'll be like
Well, it is quite early, but...
And I'll put him a glug of the old... And I'll probably try and like put a fair old amount in, because I'm thinking, if I do need to handle him being drunk will make it a lot easier.
Oh, did you bring the knife?
I said, no, unfortunately, all the ones I could find were like really blunt.
Terrible.
More
But
like
this place
pallets.
is a ruin.
I'll say, yeah, this place, I mean, it's like they've not got it ready for guests at all. I mean, I can see why they were giving away these trips for free.
Quite so. Now tea.
Yeah, and I'm just going to stand there for a bit, like watch him drink his tea, make a bit of minor chit chat. No, at least the view's all right, Then this place might be a crumbling wreck, and the service is terrible, and that I'm going to try and gradually bring the subject around to like, oh, did you hear about that old married couple who were like beating on each other who had to get sent home? And I'm going to be sort of like watching his reactions while I'm sort of bringing the conversation round to this, effectively trying to. And I'll be sort of like saying, "Oh yeah, did you hear about those two people who were sort of beating on each other? Old married couple. It's terrible. People have sort of like resort to that sort of thing or fall to that level of barbarity, don't you think?" And then I'm going to be trying to sort of read him as I'm talking.
Yeah. So as you say, this is quite right. I never liked marriage myself either. That barbarity.
I'm going to try and make a read person roll, which I'll probably fail at. Oh, actually, I'm not too bad at that.
Passion.
So I'm going to spend a point of law to give me +1 for the scene, using my prepared, which will take me up to 7, and then it'll take me up to 9 total. So I can ask. So hold 1 when interacting with them. Spend a hold to ask questions 1-to-1. And I want to know, what does he intend to do? I suspect I can guess, but it'd be nice to know.
Yeah, but this is true, like definitely.
Yeah.
So you know that he is looking at you as like, oh, how can I skin this person alive?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the conversation there. I'm going to walk back to these two, keeping like half an eye out for him in case he decides to get a bit overly friendly or murderous while I'm walking back. And then I'm going to say, yeah, I've just given the old boy outside his tea, and look, I know the look in someone's eyes when they're getting ready to shank you or they're getting ready to do you harm. I've seen it many a time, and he's got that look in his eyes. He was definitely sizing me up for the chop while he was talking to me, but on the outside he seemed perfectly normal. Whatever it is in here has got to him as well, obviously.
Perhaps we should leave.
You hear from the corridor, Mr. Hardy.
Like, soon.
Look, before we go anywhere, I'm going to level with you guys. Before we go anywhere, have any of you guys heard voices? Like voices in your head?
At night?
No,
when I'm in the ocean, or do you mean?
In your head. Specifically voices trying to get you to do things.
Yes.
So have I.
I thought it was the rum, but maybe perhaps
horrible things.
This thing hasn't contacted me as yet, but I suspect that's because it knows I'd see right through it.
And you only heard the laughter, but then everyone did. Nothing to you specifically, directly. You're absolutely
The same entity we heard laughing earlier, I assume.
I suspect so. Look, I've experienced, if not this actual thing, something very like it before. And what it does is it starts off with the people who are like weaker minded first. They crack, and then gradually, as it seems to get stronger with every sort of weird act and barbarous act that's done, it'll eventually start cracking on even the people with like the strongest resolves. So the longer we stay here, the more in danger we are. But if we leave here, this thing's just going to talk all of these people into doing horrible things. And eventually, like most of the people in this place, if they're not already fallen to it, they'll fall to it. And what happened on the boat and what's happening here will just happen everywhere. I don't know whether it's going to even stretch outside the chateau. I've no idea.
How is it using the chateau?
I don't know. I don't even know if it's got a connection to the chateau. Like, I'm no expert. I only know about this because I've experienced something like it before.
It started on the boat, on the Silver
Has this
Spear.
thing followed you here?
Look, there's two possibilities. Look, we're long past the point of subterfuge. I'm going to level with you. I experienced something like this before. I tried to stop it. They found me in a room covered in blood. I tried to tell them what had happened. They didn't believe me, and I was shut up for a time in a sanitarium. And I'll be honest with you, I escaped from there, and that's where I knew that woman from, that Bella Ward, on board the ship.
Yep.
I'd seen her in the sanitarium, so there's two possibilities. It's either come with me, or it's come with her. Now, from what we know, she's locked up with a local constabulary, but I don't know how wide this thing can stretch its reach out. So, like I say, either I'm the cause of the problem, or she's the cause of the problem, because she's still in the area. I don't know how to deal with it. I tried it before, and the only thing I got out of it was I was locked up.
And you hear, and a lot of people died, Caesar.
And I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say, and a lot of people lost their lives.
And you hear laughter as if like, yes, say what I want you to say.
Well, for all we know, everyone else in this place could already be dead.
Before we continue this conversation, perhaps we could find a defensible spot.
We could do. I agree, that's a good idea, but we're then leaving all these other people.
So that we can have a conversation without being listened to.
Well, you probably know more about this sort of thing than me, so if you think that's a good idea.
Where would be safe in such a... Perhaps the bar?
A den of scum and villainy.
Anywhere, it just has to be a room.
Okay, well, let's go back to my room.
Okay.
We'll hole up there for a bit and see what we can think.
I just want to point out that when I last went through those corridors, there was people without eyes or ears. Who knows what's going to be there?
In the corridor, you hear, Mr. Hardy, please.
Yep.
Okay, the kitchen's as good a room as any. I just want to make sure this is where we're going to fucking make a stand, if it is where we make a stand. I mean, there's lots of knives and shit in here.
No, let's in case one of us gets affected by it, let's head back to my room.
Let's all take a knife, though, just in case. If we give in to our urges.
I'm just going to say, I've already got a knife. I've had one ever since I came on board.
I'm going to get a nice,
I'll hand you the fire poker.
I'll pick up the rolling pin.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so...
Get a skillet.
Do we need to fight our way through there, Johannes?
To Caesar's room.
Yeah, to get to my room. Do we pass any of these mutilated people?
Yeah. There's the staff member in the hallway still because they don't know where they're going. So you see this.
I'm guessing we can just push our way around. Then,
oh yeah.
though.
Oh yeah. No.
Do we need to do the sanity checks?
Yeah, it's probably at this point.
Yeah,
there's been a lot.
Even though we're expecting it, it's still pretty grim, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't look.
Do with the dice.
What's the roll for sanity? I forget.
Reason.
Oh, look at that! It's a 9.
I got an 8.
So this would then, for you... So that would be with your minuses that you get from...
Oh, are we still in the same scene?
I guess.
Sweet, I get a +1 because I spent law, so I'm on 10.
Nice, okay. So, let's see. Where are we? Here. So, okay. So... Next rolls for both December and the captain are -1. and December takes 1 shock, and Caesar takes 1 shock, but you can act normally.
Hang on. Because I am receptive to weird things, I get to roll plus luck. I've rolled a 9.
Do I have to roll for this?
2. No, this is just me.
You don't need to roll anything.
So, yeah, you've already seen it.
Yeah.
So I got 10 plus, so all shock becomes law.
Okay, so
That's a sweet ability.
Yep.
so what happens is you see this mutilated poor man in the corridor trying to lap at the door, trying to get into a random room, asking for Mr. Hardy. You see this sort of shadow play of events that have happened here in the corridor. The guests moving from room to room to stab each other, and there's this. There's a sort of outline of a person, kind of a shadow cast on the wall, which somehow, to your senses, seem. Yes.
I see you. There is no life in the void.
Yeah, you see the sort of outline of a person on the wall, as if a shadow cast by a person that's not there, and it feels like it's looking at you, and it extends a hand as if like, shall we dance? And you see the shadows of these people who are now dead or mutilated, like take the shadow creatures' hands, of which there are multiple, because this follows no goddamn logic at all, and they go about their dances and die.
So I think as we come across this mutilated person, who I presume is like...
Yeah, just pawing at this door, trying
Yeah.
to get to Mr. Hardy.
I'm just going to take like half a step towards him, and I'll like, look at the two of you, and I'll say, you two go ahead, I'll meet you in the room.
That's what it wants. Keep moving.
Look, we can't just leave this person like this.
Right now, I see a shadow standing beside you, with its hand on your shoulder, whispering to you. Please don't listen. Come on.
Okay.
I can get us to a place where it can't talk to us for a few moments.
Caesar, you know what
please.
needs to be done. Mr. Hardy
Please
has taken
don't
this
listen.
man's life from him. It's only a mercy.
Please don't listen. Keep walking.
And actually, I would say, because you're close by now, and you've got your eyes have been opened now to this, you can actually hear these things that are being said to Caesar.
It doesn't really matter what it's saying. I can see that he's reacting to something speaking to him. I don't need to actually be seeing it to know that it's there.
I would say, since I'm effectively being compelled, maybe this would come down to like a convince roll,
Sounds good to me.
because I'm not like entirely in control of my own actions.
Okay.
So it's like 2d6 plus
So
your
PCs.
affinity to me.
Oh. I am not very convincing. I think it's time to spend some law on boosting that roll. Spend a point of roll to +2 would make it a 9.
Okay, so then Caesar, if you do what December asks, nothing happens. Except you do, of course, what December
You gain
asks.
a point of law
Do I? Why's that?
because it
It's
says
the-
so on
it's
my
the 10
character
plus.
sheet. Oh, sorry, I'm
yeah.
reading the wrong bit.
Yeah, it's laid out a bit
Yeah,
funky.
sorry.
But if you refuse, you will be, whatever you're doing is going to be acting under pressure first, because she's putting a pressure on you. Basically, if you follow her instructions, it's fine.
Yeah,
If
I'm
not,
going
then-
to go with what she says.
Right. Okay, so you follow along. You leave this poor person pawing at the door in the corridor. and you find yourselves in Caesar's room. You barricade the door.
I'm going to be sat opposite it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one charm with which I can make one room safe.
Mm-hmm.
It just says safe. In this story, I'm assuming that is one room where we can have a conversation where that thing can't interfere with us.
It is by
For a
definition
short-
safe to
yeah.
you. Whatever else is true, that is true as well.
Some fucking charm that I've got around my neck, and it says that it's disposable, so it doesn't last forever. Doesn't say how long it does last. I assume that's down to you. But yeah, with this that I've had for years, and I got from blah blah blah, I can make the room so that that thing can't get in for a little while.
I'm just going to be like, sure. It's you producing like a charm and being like, I've got a magic charm. It's not exactly the strangest thing that's happened recently.
Yeah, checks out.
I'm going to be like, it either will work or it doesn't.
You'll probably like feel a sort of slight, maybe not like there was something breathing down your neck, but there isn't any more sort of feeling.
Yeah, there's no additional
whatever
voices.
Spell it is I'm doing.
The tension, actually, yeah. So it feels like you've got a great, shoulder massage because the tension is gone now. You feel kind of relaxed, and if it wasn't for the bloodbath outside, you might feel good.
I'll just sort of look at you and I'll give you like a nod as you like finish doing your charm, and then I'll say, right. So for however long this lasts, we're in the clear for the moment, but we can't stay here forever. What are we going to do? The three of us could just get out of here. I mean, you said, Captain, you've got a boat nearby. We could just get on that and we could just get the fuck out of here. And hopefully leave this thing behind. But if we do, we're leaving all these people to it.
The police will come in. The police will be inhabited.
Yeah.
They will bring in other people.
If we leave it, more people are going to die.
The place will become a hotel. The place will become a shifting...
It's going to become a graveyard, a slaughter ground. That's what it's going to become.
How do we stop it? Well, I have these old eyes and a gun.
Well, as I've said...
And a cigar. Light up a cigar.
As I said, there's two possibilities. Either it came over with Miss Ward, or it came over with me. So I think the first thing we need to do is find out what's going on with Miss Ward. I mean, if she's been in the police station for however long, it might already be too late. We might be walking into another bloodbath. But
maybe when she stabbed you, she gave you something more than just a wound.
like I say, I've had experience with something like this before, and it was long before I met her. So either somehow it's appeared again and it's travelled over here with her, or it's been with me all the time and it's came over with me.
Perhaps.
Do you want to puzzle things out?
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn to Miss Green. I'm gonna say, look, like I say, I don't know. I don't understand all this stuff. I only know what I've seen. Is there any way you seem to know what's going on? I mean, you've got your charm and all this shit. I don't know anything about that. Is there any way you can tell if it's like in me, this thing, or?
I'll be honest with you. All I know is that at some point we were going to sit in this room and have this conversation. I saw a glimpse of this. I recognised your faces, and here we are.
Well, look, if you knew that was going to happen, is there any way you can find out, like, if it's in me, if it's going to do anything with me in the future? Or is there any way you can puzzle that out?
Can I perhaps read a person to work out what's going on here?
Who are you reading?
John. Only not very well.
Can I assist?
To be honest, it's probably more puzzle things out because you're trying to work out about the...
Yeah. Let's go for a puzzle things out then. So that's... And I'll be spending some lore on this.
Mm-hmm.
That's more like it. So I've rolled a 10. -1 for reason is 9. +2 for lore is 11.
Right, so ask 3 questions or gain 1 lore.
And I get an extra question because of my power. So which question don't you reckon I should ask, John?
Well, I'd say the "what is this" is always a good question.
Oh, that read a person, not puzzle things.
No, which
oh,
one?
we are puzzling things out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'd say "what is this" is
Oh,
always
so
a
I
good
don't
question.
get the extra question either. Sorry. Yeah. So 3 questions.
Yeah. I would suggest, what is this? How can we, like, get out? And what, or potentially, what is this? Which enemy before me is the most dangerous, and what is its weakness? Because obviously, if we can work out the weakness of the thing, we can deal with it.
At this point, to be honest.
Or let's
is it
get
not
to the
better
chopper.
To just go for the lore and get the GM to give us the relevant information.
So it's up to you. You asked me what questions I'd suggest. That's what I'd suggest.
The
what
lore,
with it being 11 and all.
Yeah, and very much
so meta.
Yeah. So with the lore, it's going to be supernatural horseshit.
Yeah, but the supernatural horseshit that I need is effectively, how do we defeat this creature? What's its weakness? Which is one of the questions. What's its weakness? How does X fit into Y? How does the creature fit into John? Caesar. Sorry.
Right, so are we going for the questions?
How can we get out of it? Well, that's 3 questions. I'd rather just take a lore and say, tell me what I need to know. But
okay, so taking the lore, I think you because you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to, like, why are you here? Why did your visions lead you to this place with these people?
How do we get rid of this beastie?
Yeah, and you get another vision, as is your wont, and it is an island with a lighthouse, and you can see a table and 2 chairs set outside. It's a nice summer day, and there are 2 quite old men playing chess there outside in the sun. And on these chairs sit Caesar Lewis and the good captain, getting quite along in the years now already, still trying to puff the old cigar. And you can see the endless expanse of ocean on every direction. And it fills you with a sense of peace and isolation, which is a little bit sad. But you know that this island needs to happen if the killing is going to stop. And the way to get out of the control of this, whatever this is if the killing stops. But the creature is not going to go away. But your vision does tell you how you could contain it, possibly.
Okay, yeah, so...
I see old people.
I see old people.
I don't think it matters which of the 3 of us it is that it's followed. It's followed one of the 3 of us. And there is a place that we could retire ourselves to, that it would follow us, where only we will be left. Where it can't affect other people. between us we could arrange for this to happen. I'd suggest that for the moment we take it away from this hotel and this place.
So if we leave, is it going to follow us?
I think it will. And I think when it does, we can take it somewhere that it can be contained.
Okay.
With the help of your crew, Captain, I don't think we should return to the liner.
Well, I was going to say to make sure that, assuming we all agreed to this, to make sure that the captain's crew are safe, we don't want to affect anyone else. Captain, could your boat, is it big, small? Sorry, ship. Ship.
It's a trawler, so it's not massive, lad. It's more,
What I'm asking is, could the three of us crew it and get it to wherever?
I could teach you a few things.
Because the fact is, if and I assume you mentioned like it's an island. If we're going to go to this island that Miss Green has located, if we take your crew with us, they risk getting affected by this and meeting the same
they're
fate
loyal
here.
to me. Don't you worry. They will not hurt the captain.
They are loyal to you, but I would also say that the married couple who like ripped each other's guts out were probably fairly loyal to each other as well. But they fell prey to this thing. The only way we can fully make sure your crew are safe is if we leave them behind and the three of us take the boat to this island that Miss Green has located. Then there'll only be the three of us on board, and once we get to the island we can, and I know this will probably tug at your heartstrings, Captain, we can scuttle the ship, sink it, that way I know, but that way no one else is in danger. And if this thing does somehow take control of us while we're on the island, we won't be able to leave. That's the only way I can think of doing this. If you've got any other suggestions, I'm all ears. Unlike the person outside.
So your plan is to trap us on the island?
I'm afraid so.
If this thing comes with us, if we're stuck on the island, it's stuck on the island. And yes, it's bad times for the three of us, but everyone else is safe.
I believe it would be possible for your crew to drop us off.
That's what I was thinking. They drop us off and then come back a few days later and see.
I believe it would be possible for them to continue to supply us for many years if necessary.
You did see that people had advanced in years in your vision.
Yeah, I don't want to give them too much hope. I don't like it when people get disappointed.
The idea of scuttling my vessel is...
Well, like I say, my only concern is how are we going...
I believe we may be able to contain it for long enough to get it from here to there. But I think it would require one of you tricking it into coming with us. I think taking the crew off the ship would make it suspicious. But once we get to the ship, I think there is a way that I will be able to create a similar ward.
Okay.
I think I can find some shells on the beach and make them magic.
Okay, what I'm going to suggest, I'm going to throw out a suggestion. We won't do it unless you all agree. You already know that I want to put that person outside, out of their misery, and that this thing is drawn to when someone kills. It's been whispering at me to kill that person since I saw them. If I do that, put them out of the misery, then you get me aboard the ship and keep me confined. Hopefully it'll come with me because it'll be drawn by the act of killing somebody, and we can then get to this island as quickly as possible. And I'm hoping if you keep me confined, it'll stay with me rather than affect the rest of your crew. Maybe you can do whatever you do to keep it with me. Then once we're on the island, it's too late for it. The ship can sail off, whatever.
So there's our plan, Johannes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds like a wonderful epilogue to us. So there's the sort of epilogue music. Music starts up with very faint sounds of the actual action that we see, with Caesar loading the shotgun. We have the plan all set. You gather what you need from Caesar's room. You go outside. We see you walking out. Yep.
Also, I'll tell you what we do. Like the moment after I've killed this guy, assuming I hear like the voice in my head, be like, yes, do it.
Yeah, it's like
Caesar, you know I don't like it when you go outside.
What
I can't hear you.
What we're gonna do is, before I come out of the fucking
You
ward,
need to come out of that ward
No,
looking
but-
pissed off with us.
yeah, before I come out of the ward
Yeah.
though, I'm gonna get you to get some of that sleeping draft that you got for what's it. I can come out. Caesar, go and give it to you. Like, kill this guy. You can basically give me the sleeping draft before I come out of the ward because it'll take a while to take effect. I go out, rap. That guy's dead. A few minutes later, hopefully the sleeping draft kicks in. You guys drag me on board the ship, lock me up in a thing, take all the weaponry. We sail off into the wild blue yonder, and then you've not got to risk me going like mental with my shotgun and like killing people.
yeah, that would be
then
a bad
we
time.
retire to a lighthouse, which I will purchase at some point along the
Yeah,
way.
because you
via
can just
telegraph.
you can
The
just have
marvels
things
of
delivered.
modern technology.
And me and the captain will
Future is
sit
here.
down and play chess.
Yeah, you'll be in quarantine on an island. You'll have supplies delivered.
What kind of strange, fantastical world is this?
Yeah, but so that is indeed it. You make your retreat into this island Enveron, and you hope that no one is going to try and make too much of an aggressive landfall on the island, while you still, the whispers do fade as the killing stops and the violence and the tension stops, and it's only when the night is at its darkest and maybe you've had a nightmare, Caesar, and others as well occasionally, like when you wake up in the dark night having had a really awful nightmare about something, occasionally there's the like indistinct whispers in the night, but it's not even words now. It's just sort of like the baleful voice reaching out from the void, but it doesn't make itself understood as before. You hope it will remain that way. Okay, I guess that's it.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for playing.
Very much enjoyed it.
Apologies for going quite late.
It's fine, no. It's all good. Just I know it's a lot later for you than it is for us.
Yeah, I'm good though. It's quite fine for me as well, and it's the nature of this game particularly is it's a little bit shambolic, especially with the journey play thing that we're doing, because there's a lot of things that could happen.
Yeah.
As discussed
And
previously.
as I was saying to Johannes at the start, if we can sort out a date at some other point, I'm also happy to run some like Tremulus one-shots, so Johannes gets a chance to play.
Yeah, and definitely
The wheel turns.
definitely it's going to be probably Ebon Eves for me next time, because I need to run some more of that before we return to this stuff, because it's more easy to get your footing in that one. But hopefully that was okay.
That was fun, yeah.
That was fun noodling around and doing some.
I always
murder.
enjoy being a retired captain, going to a
Aye.
spooky hotel.
Yarr. The Stevie High says I. I think on that note I'll stop the recording.